welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and we've got another round of Fast and Furious racing action in the NXTCC or 9-4 as the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship Season 9 as powered by Doble Motorcycles and proudly brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. It is week number 2 and we're at round number 2 of the Season 9 Championship and we are here for the orange lobby while our two lobbies running in parallel over the course of what is 10 weeks of absolutely brilliant racing action. As we've made away from the Donington Park National circuit, we opened up the championship campaign as of last week. We're here today on what is Tuesday the 6th of May 2025 for the Brands Hatch circuit, but in particular the first of 2 visits to Brands Hatch with the Indy course playing host initially as we follow the British Touring Car Championship calendar over the course of the entirety of this season. Now this circuit is one of the shortest on our calendar, only spanning what is 1.19 miles because our drivers will be taking on the Indy layout and well named Indy in reference to the fact that IndyCar used to race around here in the 1960s, where it's a far cry today in terms of IndyCar making its way on around the Brands Hatch circuit. But one thing that is for certain is the fact that it's an absolute brilliant circuit to go racing at, and indeed one of those whereby track position is absolutely critical. With only 5 corners available to our drivers, therefore they've got to absolutely dig in tight, dig in deep, and let's try and get the best possible run into each and every corner. But most importantly, they need to try and put it on pole from the outset if they want to come away victorious, given the fact that being at the front of the field, you have track position to your command, and with track position, you have every opportunity to try and make your car as wide as possible in order to hold off the charging cars behind and make sure that you can be the one to lift that checker flag, or indeed make it to the falling of the checker flag and be the one to lift the trophy come what is the end of the race. But as all our drivers get set and ready to go racing today, well, we've got an absolutely ram-packed schedule for you, as we always do. 3 races preceded by a qualifying session, and we welcome you all to this live broadcast from circuit side, available on free media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, of course, you can be tuning in via one of the 2 official NextGen Racing media platforms, including what's our YouTube channel at youtube.com and search for NextGen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube. Alternatively, much like Jonathan Berry there in the Facebook chat, and hello to you John, I hope you're doing well, you could be tuning in via our Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook. And lastly, we have the unofficial broadcast available only on what is Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. But regardless of what media platform you're tuning in from, we're very happy to have you here, no doubt about it. And as all drivers get themselves set, and our overlay does briefly refresh itself there, and a little bit of data being loaded in the background, and we do apologise for that. Well, let's walk you through our schedule. Times in British Summertime, that's BST, with Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. And as we can see, in what is approximately 17 minutes time, we'll be making our way out onto circuit for our qualifying session, our 15-minute session, while the drivers will be out there. It's going to be an absolutely packed circuit when you do have the best part of what is 35 cars, if not more, out there, all contesting for space. And only in 1.19 miles, you do the mathematics, that's barely a few metres for each and every car to be able to put in their best possible qualifying laps. But on top of that as well, afterwards, we'll be then seeing our drivers make the way to the grid for what will be race number 1 of the day. All 3 of our races consisting of what is the best part of 24 laps, and race number 1 will be getting underway at 8:20 this evening, after which we'll be taking a brief break before returning for race number 2, and we'll be approximately at 9:10, and then we're doing the same again, but not with our all-important partial reverse grid draw, as we'll have the run-up to race number 3, and that'll all be set to get underway at approximately 10 o'clock this evening. But as we get set with a cloudy day here in the Garden of England, in the county of Kent, near the West Kingsdown Village, we'll otherwise absolutely set and ready to go. And let's give you a recap of the story so far and what we've still got lying in wait. Because I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, our season opener could, in fact, have a whole book written about it, given how close it was. And, well, here's a recap of the championship calendar there. And we opened up at the Donington Park National circuit on the 29th of April. Today is the 6th of May, and we've made our way to the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, the first of 2 visits. After today, in round number 3, we'll be heading to the Snetterton 300 circuit on the 20th of May, so in 2 weeks' time. And then we'll be heading over to the Thruxton circuit on the 3rd of June. The fastest circuit in the United Kingdom, followed up by one of the tightest and trickiest circuits in the United Kingdom, and that'll be the Alton Park Island circuit on the 17th of June to wrap up the first half of the championship campaign. Then we're making our way after the summer break back to the racing, and with it all the way back up to what will be the northern half of England for the Croft circuit on the 29th of July, presuming it is added to the iRacing system, and indeed we hope it does get added there because we have seen some concept screenshots in the past, and presuming it is, it'll be round number 6 there, after which we'll then be making our way to Knockhill International. It'll be Scotland the Brave on the 12th of August 2025, and then we'll be making our our way back to Donington Park for round number 8. The Grand Prix circuit will be playing host, and from the 26th of August to the 16th of September, it'll be the Silverstone National Circuit in our penultimate round, after which we'll then be making our way all the way back to where we are today, albeit we'll be extending to the full Grand Prix layout of Brands Hatch on the 30th of September, and seeing who is going to be crowned our Season 9 champion as of there in what is the overall Drivers' Championship, but also in the Prime and AM classes, and of course we do have that all-important Teams Championship to also crown off. But with our schedule, recap there, as I get my words right for the second time, well, let's give you a recap of the championship standings after one round of racing. And as we can see in the overall Drivers' Championship, it's Luciano Witvoet who is leading by 60 points to the 54 of Witvoet, and Witvoet really was the man to beat last time out, and the fact he's been many a time driver on the grid on multiple seasons in the NXTCC, but he's never quite had things go his way. But in the season opener, it was a win in race number 1 and back-to-back third place finishes in races 2 and 3, and showed phenomenal pace across all 3 races, even with the success ballast in the car, and therefore that's why he's put down a major marker. But the same could be said for Witvoet, and the fact he took victory in race number 2 and also put top 5 finishes in both races 1 and 3, and therefore being only 6 points behind right now doesn't give credit to how close he was to Witvoet all the way through. And Mikey Doble, our 4-time champion, sits in third on 45 points. It was a bit of a frustrating end to the day in race number 3. Couldn't find his way through the field compared to races 1 and 2. But he's in the thick of fighting always, and that's where you love to see the BTCC driver. Then his younger brother, Isaac Doble, sits in fourth on 41 points, one ahead of Yaroslav Sabula. And Sabula, many of you will remember, took victory in race number 3 and was absolutely ecstatic about it, given the effort he had to expend. Andrew Pike sits in 6th, ahead of Adam Delmont, with Tom Davidson there, the second member of the Sim Racing Collective, sitting in 8th, and ran a good start to his championship. Normally he's a bit of a slow starter compared to Andrew Pike, but this time around he's a bit of a faster starter, and therefore things have come together. Alex Meredith and Gavin Garner complete what is your top 10, and outside the top 10 it's William Guthrie in 11th on 21 points. From them all the way to 12th it's Jamie Dorr in 15, only ahead of your leading prime driver Ben Trier based on result count back. They're both on 15 points there, and then from them to what is your 14th place driver Lewis Delmont, a third point behind. Then it's Stuart Wyness, Kieran Smart, Matthew Addy, Conrad Kula, Michael Lees and Sam Smith who complete your top 20. Outside the top 20, in 21st, it's Ben Gregory, equal on points to Reece Watt, but ahead based on result count back. And the same story could be said for Nick Clemens, Duncan Rise, Jonathan Collins and Marcel Fritsch, with Jonathan Collins being the leading AM driver there alongside Fritsch based on result count back. And then we do see from them to what is Lee Horn on 3 points, but he's ahead of Alan McCain and Craig Tillerson based on results, and Russell Fowler completes the top 30 there in 30th place. Outside the top 30, it's then Matthew Jordan, and then it's going to be what is Alexander Pulik, followed up by Callum Murray, and then Joseph Doble, Mark Sykes, Sam Bradley and Sam Vidals to complete what is your 37 drivers in the overall Drivers' Championship. In the Pro-Am class, well, the story there is a little bit different. When we revise the points and come back to those standings, we can see it's Ben Trier who leads the way, and well, looking very good there so far by an advantage of 14 points. And Trier, to be fair to him, he really was the man leading the way across all 3 races. 3 podiums with a win in race number 2 to boot, and therefore his brilliant battles that enjoy with the Track Scotland drives of both Kieran Smart and also Stuart Wyness, we can imagine that right now he's going to be looking to try and extend that advantage even more today. Meanwhile, Kieran Smart and Stuart Wyness, they're second and third respectively, a point separating the two of them, and for Wyness he's only ahead of Lewis Delmont based on result countback, and Lewis Delmont and Stuart Wyness absolutely exchanged blows. It was like a pair of boxers at what was the Donington Park National circuit between them in their battles with other drivers, and indeed with each other. And then Michael Lees is only a further point behind, with Nick Clemens in 6th on 40 points, and Matthew Addy round off the top 7 on 36. But that gap from your leader all the way to 7th being the best part of 22 points, that shows you how close it was in our Pro-Am class and the season opener. Indeed, only 1 round complete, and so far no driver really putting themselves in terms of all the way out there apart from Ben Trier, but then again he could find himself reeled into the pack again tonight. Duncan Ray sits in 8th ahead of Alan McCain by a single point, and it's Sam Smith who completes your top 10. And it's Russell Fowler, Ben Gregory, Reece Watt and Sam Van Olst who complete your Pro-Am field. We then come on to the AM class, last but by no means least, and out of our 7 drivers was Mark Sykes who led the way as much as he possibly could, and well as he makes his way into today and looking to deliver even more as much as he possibly can. Well, Marcel Fritsch is only a point behind, and these 2 previous AM champions both setting huge markers down over the course of what was the season opener, both taking what was a victory apiece, and therefore you can imagine coming into today they're going to be looking to go for even more victories in order to be able to try and extend their way away. Meanwhile, newcomer Matthew Jordan, he sits in third there, and a brilliant debut for him, particularly in race number 1 with that maiden podium in his season opener. That's one thing you never quite get the opportunity to do unless you're absolutely looking brilliant, and he looked fantastic in race number 1. But races 2 and 3, consistency started to strike against him, and with some inconsistency and some success ballast also in the car, it looked so Jordan there was still coming to terms with the car and with the machinery and with the format. But you can imagine once he does get his head around it, and if he can get that consistency on the board, he is going to be looking much more ferocious. In fourth, it's Craig Tillotson, only a point behind, and then Jonathan Collins completes your top 5 there, and Cal Murray and Sam Bradley on 0 points complete the AM standings. But then coming on to our circuit for today, and just a reminder as well, we will be looking at our teams championship standings, but it will be as of round number 3's broadcast. We'll start to talk about those. The teams are currently being finalised, and all the points calculations are being finalised, so give us a little bit of time, ladies and gentlemen, but we promise you will be seeing those teams standings arising as of round number 3 onwards in the broadcast, and we apologise we couldn't have them here today. And then coming on to our circuit for today, it's the Indy layout of the Brands Hatch circuit, located near what is the village of West Kingstown in the county of Kent in England, the United Kingdom, and arguably what is the Garden of England. Our drivers are going to romp and rave around it today as they get themselves set to take on the 5-corner layout circuit, as we can see from the circuit map provided by iRacing.com, and thank you to iRacing for their brilliant simulator and the track maps that come with it. 5 corners, many of them household names, whether it be Paddock Hill Bend at turn number 1, Druids at turn number 2 at the hairpin, Graham Hill Bend at turn number 3, the Brabham Straight and the run towards turn number 4, and then of course the run through McLaren in towards Clearways at turns 4 into 5, and then the charge all the way across the start-finish line and back to do it all over again. With such a short circuit and the only overtaking opportunities you can expect, clear ones, will be into Paddock Hill Bend at turn number 1 and Druids Hairpin at turn number 2. Graham Hill Bend, it looks like it's an overtaking opportunity, but you've got to be fully alongside to go for it under braking, and therefore some of our drivers may not want to risk it, and some may dare to go all in for the biscuit, but I have to wait and see who's going to be able to get those points and digest them well, or as they make their way on around. And in turns 4 and 5, it's all about making your car as wide as possible and getting the best possible run onto that start-finish straight. As our drivers get set and absolutely ready to charge, well, let's give you a reminder of the rules because we can't go racing without them. And this is a fixed setup series with all setups provided to our drivers ahead of each and every race. Driver classes are still in the process of being finalised. We have not seen any class changes going into this round. We may see some next week. Otherwise, we will see those classes finalised after the conclusion of round number 3. So after round 3, we will lock in the classes. There may be some changes going into round 4, but that will be it. Sprint race-wise, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying. That's a given. The race 2 grid shall be based on the results of race number 1, where whoever takes victory in race number 1, they line up and pole for race number 2, and we work the grid order out consecutively as a result. Meanwhile, race number 3's grid shall be a partial reverse grid based on results of race number 2, with the reversal position being drawn live from the commentary booth from between 6th and 12th. And we saw it last time out, it was 10th place that was rewarded, and interestingly enough, we did see what was our series organiser, Jamie Dury, benefit from what was the partial reverse grid draw, and well, could he perhaps benefit again, or would one of our other drivers do so? And we're keeping a much closer eye this season on exactly which numbers are drawn from the lottery booth, and we're going to give you some statistics where we can as the season goes on, because season 8 saw some incredibly weird statistics with regards to balls being drawn from the bowl, and could we see some more of those shenanigans here this time out? Nothing's rigged, of course, but just the fact that probability really did not go the way that probability should, and could we see some rather interesting numbers there? Well, we'll see as we go into race number 3 today. But coming to pit stops and the like, each driver shall have 1 fast repair available in each race should they pick up damage, but otherwise we're not expecting any pit stops, and each race will conclude after either the allotted lap amount or 30 minutes. We're expecting the racing to conclude first, but of course if we do see safety cars or even a red flagging of the what is the race, we may go to the full 30 minutes. Now on top of this, race stewarding is in effect, and an independent race director shall be stewarding the races for track limit infringements, particularly at turn number 3 today at Graham Hill Bend, and also deployment of the safety car. There will be penalties for track limit infringements, and they'll be distributed as follows. Your first and second warning, you get no penalty, it's just a warning. Get a third warning, you've earned yourself a 5-second post-race time penalty. On the fourth warning, we double it to a 10-second post-race time penalty, and on the fifth warning, well, you've been naughty and you're going to be called into the pit lane for a drive-through penalty. Drive-through penalties must be served within 3 laps, and racing incidents shall be reviewed post-round. We also do have the continuation of the success ballast formula, and that will be applied to all 3 of our races today, plus also the qualifying session, as applied on an overall Prime and AM class basis. And for qualifying in race number 1, it will be applied based on the championship standings prior to the round. Meanwhile, we'll update it for race number 2 based on results of race number 1, and we'll do the same again for race number 3 based on results of race number 2. And drivers who are new to the series shall be given a newcomer success ballast, the 16.6 kilograms for all 3 races, and that will be used to gauge where they sit in amongst the field. And I do believe we have one newcomer on the grid today, and that is going to be a privateer of Steve Johnson in the Audi RS3, who we'll show you very shortly, and he's going to be running that newcomer success ballast throughout the entirety of tonight. But on top of that, here's the success ballast, should you wish to make some notes of the numbers, but otherwise we're not going to dwell on these numbers for too long. In the fact, you can always pause this broadcast very quickly to get them noted down. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we head back to circuit side then. And well, with the best part of what is 6 minutes remaining, we do see some of our drivers out there right now trying to give it everything in what is this final warm-up practice session before qualifying. And well, of course, with the final warm-up practice session, there's always an opportunity to find a little bit more time out there. Albeit as our drivers roll and make their way through these quarters. Well, right now, they're making me lose my words. And in fact, that's not a good sign when we start the broadcast. I'm struggling for a bit of lexicon and vocabulary. But such as the startling racing action we can expect at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, I suspect I'll be losing my voice by the end of it. But thankfully, as I look over my shoulder, I notice that I've brought some water into the commentary booth this time. I've made a habit recently of not bringing water in, and then suddenly having to realise midway through, I've got to try and go find some, alternatively preserve my throat. But enough about me. The only thing we want to hear roaring is the roar of those wonderful 4-cylinder engines in our TCR format. And as we do see Dutchman making his way through the second place overall Drivers' Championship contender right now, and well, of course, a 2-time Drivers' Champion in his own right, much like Jamie Dorey, and well, both of them looking to try and make it 3, whereas this man, Mikey Doble, he's looking to try and make it 5 with his 50% hit rate in terms of championships to seasons, and well, you can imagine he's going to go all in today in the number 1. But as he makes his way on through, well, we do have other drivers out there, and we do have on the grid today Sam Bradley, who makes his way on around there in the NXTGEN green machine, and as he does so, they missed round number 1, but we're very happy to see the AM driver back out there once again, and he was one of the AM stars of what was our Season 7 and Season 8, where he absolutely put in some brilliant performances, fell a little bit short of the championship crown in the end, in particular in Season 7 to Matt Emmons by converse, but the fact is he put on a brilliant fight all the way through the season, and he's back in the AM class for this season, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do in what is this absolutely packed field of 36 cars as it currently stands. I do believe we've got 35 on the time table, but there are 36 registers. We do see a very liberal use of track limits there from Sam Bradley. He'll get away with that right now in practice, but he won't be getting away from it in what will be and the race conditions or even the qualifying conditions, because our stewards will be absolutely keeping an eagle eye on any excursions beyond that. And I can tell you already, those stewards, they've got their work cut out for them today, because this is one of those circuits whereby track limits can be very quickly exploited for a driver who's just been a little bit aggressive. But coming from one of our AMs to one of our prime drivers who definitely impressed last time out, Alexander Paulik, as he makes his way on through there for the world of race and STR Motorsports machine, and as he comes on down there in the Audi RS3, well, we're looking forward to plenty more from him. But as well as him, well, he does have his teammate Conrad Kula, and well, both drivers in the prime class have put on some great showings there in different machinery, and were indeed following in the footsteps of what is their pro competitor and compatriot of Luciano Witvoet. And this team definitely one of those teams to watch out for as this season rages on, as he makes his way on down in towards turn number 3. But as he does so, Lee Horn here as well was very excited coming into tonight. I can tell you, he was absolutely buzzing, was Lee Horn, when he left the circuit at Donington Park National. I've never seen somebody so energized to want to go racing even more. I think he could have done 2 or 3 more races following Donington Park National. Such was the excitement he came away from it in the number 36 in that Honda Civic Type R. And well, because he absolutely loved it at Donington Park, and I can tell you one thing, he's been very eager to go racing once again. The results didn't quite go his way at Donington Park compared to some. However, that hasn't upset him and taken away the grin on his face. And I can tell you, Lee Horn is one of those absolutely lovely gentlemen who you absolutely want to spend all the time with for the simple reason he can talk your ear off with regards to motorsport, but that's because he's such a big enthusiast about it, and who can blame him? He loves touring car, and indeed as he makes one around right now, he'll be looking to try and go even further. But currently 5th place in this final practice warm-up session, and look at that, the top 5 separated by less than a 10th, and right now Horn at the bottom end of that top 5, but that's how close it's going to be. As we say hello to a few of you in the YouTube and Facebook chat who've joined us recently, including Duncan Moraes there, who will be out for Goldwyn Motorsports. Also there, Nick Clibbins, who says, good luck today guys, hotel Wi-Fi isn't best, so best not to take anyone out. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing the RS Esports driver Nick Clibbins on the grid, but Nick, very happy to have you tuning in as always, and I hope you're doing well in your hotel. We'll also say hello there to Ollie Games, who's wishing everybody the best of luck. Also in the Facebook chat, we say hello to Katie Eames, and I'm doing very well, thank you, Katie. And well, I'm a bit worried about my voice, but don't worry about that. We'll fix that a bit later on. But the fact right now, I'm absolutely excited for more touring car racing, and see you as always cheering on the Verano Esports drivers there, including will be Russell Fowler and amongst other drivers. Albeit I can't see any of what is the Rhino Esports cars out there at the moment. I think they're all in the pit lane. Craig Tillotson being another one, of course, in the AM class. We also say hello to Handsome Stu. Good evening to you, Handsome Stu. You're looking good as always, and I hope you're well. And we also say hello to Short Racing. Also there to, well, in fact, Short Racing, well, one of the fans who's cheering on Yaroslav Sabula. And, well, Sabula right now in the pit lane. There he is, in amongst other cars, albeit I think he's having a bit of an intermingling with the Irish Esports cars. It's such a crowded pit lane. But as Michael Lease makes his way through in the JWM machine, the JW Motorsport machine. Well, right now coming on down, there were less than 2 minutes to go. In fact, it'll be less than a minute to go very shortly. We would try and catch a word with our drivers quickly, but I think we're going to let them lock in and get focused on what is this final practice, given how important track position is going to be here. But we'll definitely get some words in with our drivers between the races later on today if we can. But right now, as Lease makes his way around in the number 55, well, currently the fastest of our prime drivers out there, had a bit of a difficult start to his season at what was the Donington Park National circuit, being in a very elbows out pack of cars. And then again, sometimes you are going to see elbows out racing in touring cars. You wouldn't want it any other way, but definitely right now we're hoping that the elbows go his way today rather than the wrong way. But we will wait and see how that all plays out as he makes his way up towards what will be at turn number 1. And we look to Benjamin Gregory there as well, who right now he's down in 23rd, and well, he's only 3 3/4 off the pole in terms of what is tenths of a second. That sounds like a tiny margin, but here at Brands Hatch Indy, that is literally a lifetime by comparison as he makes his way on through turn number 5. But we also see a new livery on the car today for Full Tilt V Motorsport. And indeed, the team name change to what is Full Tilt V Motorsport with boosted media. And we're very happy to see that new livery on the car when, as he makes his way on down there, decides to go straight on into the gravel. But it's going to be some very colourful Full Tilt V Motorsport machines out there. Ben Gregory being one of them. Also keep your eyes out for Ben Altria. And while the opportunity to catch up with team principal Mark Kent was telling me all about it, and we'll tell you a little bit more about it later on. But the scene is set, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go into qualifying. 15 minutes. Who's going to be on pole? Let's find out. So as qualifying gets underway then, and the clouds settle over the Brands Hatch circuit, but no sign of rain whatsoever at the moment. There is a very low risk of it potentially in our later races today, based on which way the weather's been going. Whereas everyone piles out the pit lane, it is going to be an absolutely rabid pack of touring cars here as they make the way out, for the simple reason they will all want to get their laps in as quickly as possible and get themselves into their comfort zones, because by the time you leave that pit lane, well, if you're towards the back of what is that running order, not Lee Horn necessarily, but if you look to Andrew Pite in the Sim Racing Collective Honda, the simple fact of the matter is you're going to have the best part of 20 to 25 cars in front of you, and if a couple run wide and start putting gravel over the circuit, well, that's not going to help your aspirations to try and get in the best possible lap. So the big question you may be asking is, what can we expect in qualifying? Well, firstly, we can expect that a lot of our drivers will struggle to try and get a clear lap in, and that's why many of them will want to be out there as soon as possible. The one upside of this qualifying session, given how short the circuit is and the fact that the lap time is sub 1 minute, you will be seeing plenty of laps in qualifying as a driver, and therefore that gives you theoretically plenty of opportunities to deliver a good lap and then try to improve upon it to make it the ultimate lap, as we do see there a bit of an excursion for Alan McCain, slightly off camera as he decides to go very long there, coming through clearways and now making his way onto the start-finish straight. But as he does so and kicks a load of gravel over onto the circuit, we can see the absolute medley of cars as they make the one through. They're not racing, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just to point that out if you just tuned in. They are in a qualifying session, but it'll feel like they're racing because they're all trying to factor their way into this long lollygag of cars. It's almost as if it's traffic on the local motorways, particularly the M25. But as they make their way in towards turn number 2 and onto the brakes there, well, thankfully they don't have to deal with what is stop and go congestion. They just have to deal with high speed congestion around here. And once they make the way down, Sam Van Olst also has taken a bit of an excursion there towards the grass on the exit. Decides to follow all the way on the inside there into Graham Hill Bend, and the Goldwyn Motorsport Audi driver just decided to stay out of everybody's way. I think that's very wise to do so. And in fact, also pretty getting a word from the team principal in the ear, which is, look, if you back it off completely, you are going to fall into a little bit of clear space out on the circuit, and that may help out. But first times are already coming on in, and as we do see Isaac Doble there initially going for original pole and immediately being demoted to 4th place there, and of course having to balance sim racing and real life racing duties over the course of this year, taking part in what is the BRSCC Fiesta Junior Saloons, well, Fiesta Juniors Championship I should say. They're not saloons, they're hatchbacks, but as he makes his way on through, they're doing quite well at the moment, currently 6th in the championship if my memory serves me correctly, on what is his first real life racing series as well, and therefore wish him all the best luck, Isaac Doble, as he makes his way on through and trying to follow in his older brother's footsteps. But as he roars his way through turns at 4 into 5, well, right now chasing after what is there, the Full Tilt V Motorsport boosted machine of the Honda, and I believe that is the Honda of none other And just trying to discern it there. Well, it's not Ben Altria. I believe that might be what is Ben Gregory. In fact, it's not going to be Ben Gregory there. We'll get an update when we can. But as they cross the timing line, I think that's William Guthrie, in fact, who's gone up to 4th place. And, well, in the end, I picked 2 of the drivers, got them wrong on the 3rd one. We get it right, and Guthrie goes up to 4th, but then drops down to 6th. And, well, that's how quickly you can rise and fall here as he makes his way on around. And an absolutely lovely bit of work there done by Mark Kent, the livery designer, I do believe, for the liveries at Full Tilt Motorsport. And once again, doing an absolutely fantastic job of those. But right now, speaking of fantastic jobs, well, Kieran Smart, the fastest prime driver out there for Track Scotland, as he makes way around in the Hyundai Elantra, and, well, currently highly placed in the Prime Championships. He's got quite a bit of success ballast in this car, but it's not showing any signs of slowing him down, and that's another thing to keep in mind as well here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. Given the shortness of the lap, the success ballast is not going to have as much effect on the initial lap time. The thing it will have an effect on, given the fact that you do have a lot of very high load corners around here, particularly Paddock Hill Bend, and also what is the run through Graham Hill Bend all the way into Clearways, is that tyre degradation is going to be significant. But we are seeing cooler temperatures here today. We had an ambient temperature recorded of what was 22 degrees centigrade going into this qualifying session. Track temperature might be a little bit higher given that the velocity with which all of our drivers are trying to attack the Kentish circuit. But the point being here is we're not going to see high track temperatures compared to what we could later in the year. And that means the Hyundai Elantras will not suffer from what has been their tendency to overheat the front tyres quite early on and therefore lose a lot of tyre life before everybody else does. Whereas conversely, the likes of the Honda Civic Type Rs, such as the one being piloted by Adam Delmont here, well, they normally settle in quite nicely when it does come to being in a situation whereby, even if it's a very hot circuit, as long as you get those tyres up to temperature, they will stay with you all the way to the end of the race session. But as he makes his way across the timeline here, more times coming on in, and we're only 4.5 minutes into this qualifying session. Fastest AM driver out there at the moment is Marcel Fridge as he makes his way towards the timeline, and well, as he does so there, the WS Racing Esports driver working with also what is Vrano Esports, and indeed working with them last season to take what was his AM title. Very happy about that, and back to try and defend it this season with Mark Sykes not too far behind. Well, he's on provisional and pole, 28th overall, only by what is a 10th there over Mark Sykes, but that's quite a sizable margin. And I had the pleasure of catching up with Mark Sykes in the build up to today and after what was his racing at Donington Park National, and I asked him, why have you gone to the Honda for this season? And he was saying to me the fact that whilst he has been in the Audi previously, he started to find that the Hondas actually suited him more. And I said, is it because VTEC's finally kicking in with regards to your championship campaign? And he laughed. He said that could be a bit of a reason, but the main thing is he's just found this car much more approachable compared to the Audi. And to be fair, we have seen that over the course of seasons, whether it be pros, primes or AM drivers, whereby if they've gone to the Audi, it's either been sink or swim. It's not been a middle ground. And the fact you have to understand the Audi is a very different style of car in terms of its gearing and how it wants to be driven compared to the Honda, and indeed compared to the Hyundai Veloster or Elantra. Oh, goodness me, as Sykes there decides to dart out the way, drifts his way into the gravel, avoids going to the barrier, avoids repeating what the Mustang GT3 did there on Sunday in the GT World Challenge. In fact, that was on the Saturday in what was the pre-qualifying session, but Mark Sykes there almost hitting the barrier, but thankfully not doing so, as we did see going straight on there while the Iris Esports Hondas, trying to discern who that was. I wasn't quite sure. I think it might have been Alan McCain there going off at Druids once again, so not having a happy day at Druids is Alan McCain. But right now, as we have got those times continue to come in, where's Matthew Jordan in all of this, I hear you ask? Well, right now, the rookie AM driver, in the fact this is only second round of the championship, he's currently not quite there on the pace, and in fact sitting in 35th. And I do believe we might be seeing Steve Johnson at some point. We may have been due to be in the blue lobby, as you're tuning into the orange lobby here today, ladies and gentlemen. And the broadcast of the blue lobby will be available. It will be live from circuit side as of tomorrow. Indeed, it's a broadcast which was recorded live, but we're playing it back tomorrow, so that way you don't have any scheduling conflicts. We'll be able to watch the orange lobby, and then subsequently you've got plenty more entertainment 24 hours later to watch the blue lobby. But coming back to here and now in lobby orange, and as we do see Matthew Jordan making his way on through there, drifting very sideways, taking a bit too much spin in Paddock Hill Bend, and we're learning a lot there as he unfortunately does get caught with the tyre barrier, hits the rear left side of the car, and that is going to be a trip to the pits very quickly there for Matthew Jordan. As meanwhile, darting to the pits, Reece Watt also there. We do have what is the AM machine of Craig Tillotson parked up at the moment, looking to get a fresh set of tyres on and put some more fuel in the car, also talking to what is his crew chief about where's things going wrong. Meanwhile, speaking about where it's going wrong, he's on an outlap hour as Michael Lee, so therefore deciding to take to the grass in order to avoid all the traffic making its way on through and potentially incurring the wrath of the stewards in terms of impeding another driver on a qualifying lap. Well, that's working out quite nicely for him as they all make the way on around, but as they do right now, coming on down towards turn number 3, well, meanwhile we look to what your overall drivers championship leader of Luciano Witvoet, and right now as he's left the pit lane, he's in 6th currently, 2 attempts or just over off of what the pole position lap is as set by Adam Delmont. That's provisional pole, of course, a 48.506, but Is there more time out as we go into the second half of the qualifying session? Well, if there is, he's going to have to find it. But speaking of finding a good lap, well, we do look to what will be one of the drivers who's heading on to a new flying lap, and that is going to be very shortly Wojciech Rd2 as we jump aboard with the Audi RS3 driver from Semper Racing. So making his way into turn number 1 and looking to his left for the 100-metre board. Braking hard there as he drops down to 4th gear. Practically sliding the car into the corner and riding all the way to the outside curbing as he now makes his way up into Druids. Braking under the bridge at the 50-metre board all the way down to the 2nd gear. Getting a nice late apex, forcing the car through, using the front engine front-wheel drive drivetrain to its absolute maximum as he heads into Graham Hill Bend. Braking 75 meters of corner apex there. Open up the corner as much as possible and now stamping back on the throttle in 4th gear. Heading all the way up towards what will be McLaren at turns 4 and 5 as he makes way left into right here through turn number 4 and then into clearways. He's got some traffic to deal with and he's going to back off there. Swierdijk, lap's compromise as he finds the Sim Racing Collective car there in front of him, and that's going to frustrate him a little bit because that was looking to be quite a nice lap there building up from Swierdijk, but then again he'll get plenty more opportunities to do so. But of course the one thing is, could it have been a golden lap then and there? And well, he'll have to just simply go with it and think to himself, okay, that hasn't worked out, well, I've always got plenty more opportunities to go for it all the way to the end of this session. But as he rolls his way on through, lap times are not coming forward for many drives, but Gavin Garnett is definitely improving there, currently down in 15th place. He's gone his personal best in sectors 1 and 2, but can he complete lap with green as well in terms of sector number 3? And the answer is going to be for the number 11 driver. Yes, he can. And where's he going to go now? He'll jump up to 5th. A lovely lap there from Gavin Gardner, and well, a 48.674 at a circuit that hasn't normally boded well for him in terms of Brands Hatch, whether it be the Grand Prix allowed to alternatively the Indy loud, whether it be, of course, was that heartbreaking season finale in season 1 when he was battling for the overall drivers championship with Jamie Doria, or later seasons. This has been a bogey circuit for him, or a bogey venue I should say, and as he makes way through right now, I think he's trying to put that boginess to bed. But as he makes his way up towards what is turns at 4 and 5, well, right now Gardner just carrying his way on through, and William Guthrie not too far off him in terms of pace, only 2 thousandths off, but right now Gardner definitely delivering the goods here in qualifying, and it's lovely to see. But as he makes his way on around, well, where are some of the other drivers out there? Where is Russell Fowler, for example? I hear some of you asking. Oh, well, I don't think we've actually got Russell Fowler on the grid today from what I can see, unless my eyes do deceive me, albeit we're having to crunch our way for a lot of drivers' names very quickly, but I don't see Fowler here, so Fowler might be missing this round, but hopefully we'll see him back in round number 3. In fact, we don't want to see him too far gone, and well, as our drivers make their way on around, I have just had it said in my ear that we do have Russell Fowler in 18th, and there he is at long last. Thank you, race director, for whispering that in my ear. I do appreciate having an extra set of eyes when I can't quite see. I should go to Specsavers potentially, but as we do see Russell Fowler making his way on around there, well, he's currently in 18th place in what is 5th of the Prime class, and the Vrano Esports Audi RS3 right now carrying on its merry way as he crosses the timeline. Does he improve this time? No, he doesn't. A bit of a slow lap there, but I think building up to an even faster one. Mark Sykes crosses the line off the camera in 31st, and that's where he stays currently as he's trying to improve to get ahead of Marcel Fritsch, the current and provisional pole sitter, who is in 28th by comparison. But as Fowler makes his way on now to Druids and down towards turn number 3, in towards what will be the left-hander he goes. And you can see there, this Audi right now absolutely being pushed to the limit as he runs a little bit wide there. Quite a few drivers running wide coming through turn number 3. They'll be given an allowance, but not too much. And Fowler right now just absolutely trying to keep it calm, cool and collected. And well, it was a very mixed day at the Donington Park National circuit for Fowler. He had a lot of pace, but unfortunately, particularly in races 1 and 2, 2 major incidents, one in each race, saw him lose out on a load of potential points. And well, I think Fowler will be looking to right the wrongs today. And well, currently 4th place in what's the Prime class in this qualifying session, goes to the end of another lap, doesn't improve there, but it's so difficult to improve by what is thousandths around here, let alone hundreds. He's got a huge margin to try and make. And well, right now for Fowler, the gap between himself and currently in 5th place, I should say, in the Prime class, because Michael Lease is all the way at the top of the tower, and there is Sam Smith, who's in P10, ahead of Vinols, Kula, and then Fowler. But the point being, just to get himself closer to Conrad Kula, he's got to find at the moment half a tenth, and given the shortness of lap, half a tenth is not easy to find, and he hasn't got anyone to offer him a bit of a slipstream as well. He'll have to try and siphon it off of the car in front of him. But one point here as well with this qualifying lap, and the fact you don't really have any major straights. The only one you have is the exit of Clearways, which is turn 5 here, onto what will be at the start-finish straight. But by the time you get to the end of it, well, you're only going to gain a tenth, if that. It could be highly valuable, but you've got to run with that car for as long as you possibly can, and therefore you may not want to pick up the toe until the very end of lap, but timing that's much easier said than done. But as he comes on down through turn number 1, well, meanwhile we do look to Sam Smith, the Irish Esports 2nd place Prime driver, currently 10th overall provisionally, and looking quite good out there in the Honda Civic Type R. And noticing there as well as he has a big slide into turn number 5, and I think that might have been on the tighter line and being hard on the brakes with what's the sideways car, Gavin Gardner just behind him in the next gen pink livery. But what I was about to say say is the fact that right now, looking at the manufacturers inside the top 10, we do have 3 Audis, we have what is there 5 Hondas, and then we do have a roughly even split of 1 and 1, a Hyundai Veloster and a Hyundai Elantra. So it does look as though right now it is more of a circuit lean towards the Hondas and the Audis, but the Hyundais are in there as well, one of which is Alex Meredith in what is the Whiskey Runners as he makes his way up towards turn number 2, the Whiskey Runners racing machine, and as he comes all the way through the right-hander, well, the team rebranding themselves for the purposes of this round to a more Whiskey Runners dominated naming, and well, the number 19 driver here looking to carry on from the great start he's made to his season as a Donington Park, and well, the youngster here in the Pro Class yet to take a championship crown, but the key point being the fact that he's definitely shown championship worthy pace from season to season. He's been a long time member of the NXTCC community. He's been on the grid for what has been, since my memory serves me correctly, season 3, although he's had a few hiatuses in between or only been on partial seasons, but the point being he's become a mainstay as he makes his way towards the timeline. And can he move a bit further up the order? The answer is no, not right now, but as he comes across that line, well, let's go to Andrew Pike here, who right now floundering down in 18th. Can he go a little bit faster? Well, let's ride on board and find out as he heads in towards turn number 1, breaking out what is about 75 minutes from corner apex down to 3rd gear, back on the throttle immediately, a very tight line. In fact, Pike decides to back off there, and well, I don't think he's very happy with that lap immediately, that entry, and therefore he's going to tuck in behind one of the JW Motorsport machines, and that's going to be Michael Leese. He tucks in behind the number 55, and as he makes his way around, this might be a bit of a tactical call here to try and follow a faster prime driver, somebody who's significantly faster over the qualifying laps, and see where he's gaining the time, and then completely backs off and lets the 32 go on through, and that's the 32 of Reese Watt there in order not to incur the wrath of his JW Motorsport rivals. But he comes in towards turns 4 and 5. You see already in the fact he backs off the pace once, he's suddenly got to let low cars through, as that is a blazing hot Adam Delmont coming around the corner, and as he does so, he's the fastest man out there in terms of the overall qualifying time so far, and I think he feels like he's on an even fast lap here. It's Adam Delmont, but is it going to add up as he heads towards the timeline? If it is, it's all going to be in that final sector because he hasn't improved in sectors 1 and 2, and I think he's going to stay at where he is right now, albeit on a 48.506. Nobody's been able to come close to matching him right now. Michael Leese has been the closest by 900 is the delta, and he's your prime pole sitter originally is Michael Leese. Meanwhile, in the AM class, it is Mark Sykes who's been able to strike back, but Marcel Fritsch is going to have one more lap available to him as Ben Altry across the timeline goes up to 20th. What does Fritsch do here as he crosses the line? He doesn't find an improvement, but right now he's got one more lap available. Sykes is in the pit lane, and the gap is 800ths between the two of them as Conrad Kula jumps up to 5th, William Guthrie jumps up to 6th, and improvers, and Marcel Fritsch goes straight on into the barrier at Druids, and that means that Fritsch will not be improving here. The best he'll start is 2nd in the AM class. Could we see any further improvements from Collins, Bradley or Jordan off camera? We'll wait and see, as here comes Russell Fowler as he makes his way out to turn it number 5 and towards the timeline, and as he does so, what can Russell Fowler do? Here's the checker flag, waves furiously, and can he move up from 21st? No, he can't. That'll be the best he does, but that is worth 8th in prime class, so it's not too bad all things considered. But as they make the way on around here, well, Adam Delmont's definitely set the bar. He set it very high, and nobody's been able to respond to it. And well, I think Adam Delmont absolutely delivering the goods when he needed to. Are there any other surprises out there? So we've got a couple more times coming in. Well, Alan McCain moves up to 28th. He's had a bit of a difficult qualifying session as the iRacing Esports Honda driver in the number 212. It really has not worked out for him or clicked together. He's only half a second off a pole, but the thing is, with the length of the lap, it is what is a very long way away. And Matthew Addy as well, practically alongside him there, 27th. So these two both floundering and qualifying to a degree. The Sam Cases UK Next Gen Audi there will not be having a good start to the day in terms of where it qualifies on the grid, but he'll still know there's plenty to do here as Alexander Paulik as well starts 16th, albeit that's qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. And well, we will be making our way to the grid in what will be a few moments time to see how they all line up for race number 1 of the day. As they all make the way onto the grid then, well, this is how all of our drivers will line up for our opening race of this round here in round number 2 of the NXTCC Season 9's Orange Lobby, powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on iRacing. It is Adam Delmont who lines up on pole position for Next Gen Green. Well done to him. An absolutely phenomenal lap. What was it? 48.506. Michael Leese will join on the front row, and congratulations to Michael Leese as well for JWM Motorsports with what was there a brilliant pro and pole lap. From them, it'll be on row number 2. Lee Horn, who starts in 3rd place for Next Gen Pink, and he'll be in the company of Wojciech Swerdych for Semper Racing. The Polishman there starting 4th and looking to carry on from where he left off last time out at the Donington Park National Circuit. We'll then have on row number 3, Conrad Kula for World of Racing at STR Motorsports. A great qualifying performance from the Polishman, indeed just behind his fellow countryman there, and showing some great promise, and he's ahead of William Guthrie for Full Tilt V Motorsports with Boosted Motorsport. We'll then see on row number 4 in 7th place, Gavin Garner for Next Gen Pink, really putting the curse of brand Brands Hatch behind him, and he's in the company of none other than what is Tom Davidson, who starts A for the Sim Racing Collective Esports. Alex Meredith will begin his day from 9th on the grid for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN, and he'll be in the company of Luciano Witvoet for World of Racing STR Motorsports. Behind them on row number 6, it'll be Bester S, Sam Smith for Iris Esports, and Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing, and a completely different complexion in terms of qualifying today for number 11 driver compared to last time out, and it's a positive one. Mikey Doble starts today 13th for the Success Ballast in the car, the Doble Sim Racing driver in the number 1, where he knows he's got a lot of work to do from the 13th spot on the grid, but to be fair, he loves being right in the thick of it, and he's got the company of his brothers around him, because Isaac Doble is starting 14th for Doble Sim Racing. We then have Goldwyn Motorsports' Sam Van Alst in a good qualifying session, starting 15th, and the Belgian will be joined by the German of Alexander Paulik. The World of Racing STR Motorsports driver will line up on the 8th row of the grid in 16th. 17th goes the way to Track Scotland's Kieran Smart, a different complexion today, a lot of ballast in the car, and it seems to have held him back a little bit, but he's in the company of Yaroslav Sabila for Semper Racing. And then completing your top 20 is Andrew Pike with a dismal qualifying session for the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver. We normally expect him to lead a little bit higher, but still, we also know that he can make his way up through the field quite rapidly when he has these difficult qualifying sessions, and he's going to be in the company of 20th place man Ben Altria for Full Tilt Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport. We then do have on what is your 11th row of the grid the pairing of Russell Fowler for Verano Esports and Lewis Delmont for NXTGEN Green, two drivers who've got very different driving approaches. Lewis Delmont, much like his father, very bold and brash. Russell Fowler, very tactical by comparison, but which one will play out the way they want it to, we'll have to see. Stuart Winess will start his day in 23rd for Track Scotland, and he'll be in the company of Reese Watt for JW Motorsport. And then we will have Mark Sykes, who is your AM pole sitter, starting at 25th there for WSS Racing, and he'll be in the company of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, who has a difficult qualifying session starting in 26th. We'll then have Matthew Addy for WSS Racing starting 27th, ahead of Alan McCain for Iris Esports, and it'll be Marcel Fritsch for Verano Esports, ahead of Duncan Ryan for Goldwyn Motorsports. A special mention there to Marcel Fritsch, second place in the AM class, not too far for Mark Sykes. Expect some sparks between them, and Duncan Ryan completes the top 30, the South African driver, in another qualifying session that hasn't quite gone his way. On the 16th row of the grid, it's going to be Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport, ahead of Jonathan Collins for WSS Racing, and then we'll have on what is row number 17 the parent of Sam Bradley for NXTGEN Green and NXTGEN Pink's Matthew Jordan, and then it will be Craig Tillotson who lines up 35th of our starters for Verano Esports. I do believe Steve Johnson was meant to be in the blue lobby, that's why we didn't see him in qualifying, and that will be how your 35 drivers line up for the first race of the day in round 2 of the championship here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. But as everybody gets themselves set and ready to go, well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be an absolutely brilliant race ahead. There's no doubt about it. Adam Delmont be on the left of your picture, Michael East on the right. One driver's a pro-am, the other's a pro, but they'll be both going for victory regardless of what class they're in, and they're not just talking about class victory, they're talking about overall victory, but as they all get themselves set and ready to go. There's plenty of laps to unfold here in race number 1 of the day. The clouds have come over, but there's no sign of rain, and the lights are about to come on. 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and a fourth race of the championship gets underway here as Adam Delmont looks to get a good start, but Pratty bogs down on launch. Michael Lees is going to go around the outside of him surely here into turn number 1, albeit it's a short run, so therefore right now Adam Delmont can get a better run in towards the inside of the apex and makes it on through as the whole field comes on through there. And we do look to the blimp camera as they make their way up towards Druids Bend, gives you the best possible perspective of how they all Constantine are in. As you can see there, Lee Horn up the inside of Michael Lees, further on back, a bit of nose bump in there, nose to rear as a car going very sideways in the rear of the picture. That is going to be the car of what is, I believe, Sam Bradley having a trip. And as they make the way on down in towards Graham Hill Bend, Marcel Fritsch looking to make moves here, already battling for with Duncan Rice at 28th and trying to make his way up towards Mark Sykes. But as they all come through the corners, we're looking at from our blimp camera back down towards the trackside cameras. We can see the Wojciech Swierdowicz down the back of Michael Lees. Lees losing out after a brilliant start, lost it in the second phase of the launch, and as they make the way towards the timeline, well, 1 lap's complete, plenty more to come. And after 1 lap, it's Adam Delmont who leads ahead of Lee Horn, followed by Michael Lees. Wojciech Swierdowicz in 4th as they go side by side here into turn number 1. It's going to be Swierdowicz now looking for 3rd here as they rub door pane, and as they come on through, will make it the way on around. No touch between them so far. Brilliant, respectful racing. Swierdowicz on the inside into Druids Bend. Surely this is only going to go one way, as we can see that Conrad Kula looking up the inside, trying to sneak his way in versus Lees, and it's brilliant opportunism here from the World of Racing driver as he looks to go around the outside into Graham Hill Bend. That's going to be very difficult to do because Lees is going to push him out wide, and as they make the way out the corner, well, a little bit of a love tap there, no love lost between them. Macana as Gavin Gardner now tries to part the seas between the two prime drivers, but William Guthrie says, well, don't mind if I do if I go up the inside, but now Gardner will have the inside into clearways, and as they come through turn number 5, it's going to be side by side all the way through, and Gardner can run what is Guthrie out wide there as they come around. Tom Davidson up the inside of Guthrie, and Guthrie's opportunism has come back to haunt him now. As you can see there, Luciano Witvoet also side by side with the pair as they make the way up towards what will be Paddock Hill Bend once again, but over the crest and into the braking zone, and right now Witvoet on the inside there versus Guthrie, as it's going to be a run wide, and is that Tom Davidson? Davidson being pushed out wide there, as we've also got a car from rejoining, that's Michael Lees, who's taking a trip to the gravel. We'll have to understand what exactly happened to Michael Lee shortly, but there's been a bit of drama there in the side of the top 10 as we see William Guthrie being inched all the way out. Further back, Reece Watt battling side by side with Alan McCain as they come through Druids Bend, going on through the right hander and now down towards Graham Hill, and they're still fighting each other here. This is a fight for 10th place in the prime class, and it's going to be Watt on the inside. They're getting back at McCain as Mark Sykes, the leading AM driver, now gets onto the back of this battle, and he wants to play a part in it, or begin onto the inside and around the outside here as he makes his way through the left and into the right. You can see Duncan Rides is between himself and Marcel Fritz, really acting as the dam right now, which he doesn't want to break open and let the AM drivers come up behind him as they make the way on through what is turn number 5 and towards the timeline. Well, we're going to have a sick for the race complete as they go on to another lap, but as they do, well, right now anything's possible here, and it is going to happen at some point as we do see further back there Jonathan Collins looking to try and make a move here on Craig Tillerson as he makes his way in towards what is turn number 1, but over the crest, and right now the WSS Racing driver looking to go on the hunt here, close to Tillerson's go, looks to the inside. Tillerson has a good run off the Paddock Hill Bend, but Collins has a much better one. They're fighting over 4th place in the AM class. No change between them. Sam Bradley, meanwhile, he was the car you saw sideways going into Druids on the open lap from the distant camera view, and it's gone very, very well for Sam Bradley, and we'll give you an update exactly what happened to him in due course as the drivers make the way now up towards what will be turn number 3, but Collins here being made to wait at the back of the field in his battle as Mikey Doble, meanwhile, has gained 6 places since the start, has had a calm, cool and collected start, made a lot of progress, and he has got Alex Meredith for close company behind, and Meredith thinking one way, thinking the other. Can he get involved here and look for a move? The answer is no, Meredith can't at the moment. He's just going to have to wait his turn as they come over the crest and down the ridge and up towards Druids Bend they go. Behind them, Isaac Doble side by side with William Guthrie. Guthrie trying to carve his way back through the field again after what was being muscled down the order only a few laps ago, and as he comes on through Druids, well, that's going to be at the inside there. Into 11th place goes Guthrie as he now looks to go hunting after Joseph Doble for what will be 10th place, but in terms of trying to chase him down, as you can see, runs a bit wide. He'll get away with that once or twice, but the track stewards will be keeping an eye on those track limits, and he'll be given a warning if he's been deemed to go a bit too wide, but coming out of what is turn number 3 into 4-5, but they'll be line astern for now as further back Matthew Addy We had a reasonable start as well. 4 places gained in prime and 6 overall. There's a big sideways bound there for Alan McCain, who in the end given tapped on the rear by what is Reece Watt. And Duncan Rise gets up the inside to be 3 wide here as they come to the start finish straight. This is in the fight for what is 9th place in Pro-Am. And in Duncan Rise picks up 1, picks up 2. Well, brilliant bit of manoeuvring there from Rise. And here comes Jamie Dory looking at the inside, but can't quite get it. There's contact there between McCain and Rise, sends them sideways. And well, in the end, McCain is able to survive it somehow. He practically ping-pongs between what is Reece Watt and Jamie Dory's car. But Duncan Rise won't be too happy about that, as behind them all, well, Marcel Fritsch has taken the opportunity of the chaos there where Mark Sykes had to back off to avoid contact. Well, Marcel Fritsch has come into it and moved up into the AM lead. You can't make this up as he makes his way through turn number 3, and as they come out of Graham Hill Bay, you can see they're taking a very shallow exit line to try and force Sykes to follow him quite slowly if he wants to draft. And as they head in towards turn number 4, we have a new AM lead, or do we know? In fact, Mark Sykes got back ahead there, so Marcel Fritsch in the end loses down the exit of Graham Hill Bend, and now the hunt is on once again as he looks to go chase it as Marcel Fritsch. They make the way around, but as they come up towards what will be the end of this lap and on to another, Alan McCain and Reece Watt still, they're going at it once again. You think they're battling for the prime win. In fact, they're only battling for what is 9th place in the prime plus, but good on them for enjoying this battle as Watt's up the inside. They're covering off the position, and Alan McCain is going to have to tuck in behind and wait his turn. Albeit that turn's going to come very quickly, potentially to Druids. No, it doesn't in the end, and in the end he opts to stay behind instead. But with that, we're going to take a look back at some incidents early on in the race, and particularly what happened to Sam Bradley at the very start of the race, ladies and gentlemen. I believe there are a couple incidents, but Sam Bradley and Stuart Wine has been involved in a major one, and here's a quick replay of what exactly happened on that opening lap. And as they made the way on through, we did see here what was, oh goodness me, Stuart Wine is being tapped there by the side of the car. I believe that was Reece Watt, and that led to a chain reaction with what was Stuart Wine is having no control of the car coming across the road, and that collected what was Benjamin Gregory, to name a few. Alexander Paulik as well was involved in an incident on the open lap, and this is what happened to the World of Racing driver. This was coming into turns 4 and 5, and in the end, battling with number 57, it gets the tap there and is sent sideways, and the 32 driver tries to get it stopped, but can't quite stop it from going a halfway round, and in the end has to reverse off the circuit. So those are the big incidents of lap number 1. Lap number 2, more trouble for Sam Bradley, and this was in his battle further down the order, fighting there with what was, I believe, the car of Matthew Jordan, and a bit of a tap there with Jonathan Collins, and it sends it one way, sends it the other. He tries to overcorrect it and spins round into the barrier, so Sam Bradley having to tow to the pits as a result of that. And then Tom Davidson and Michael Lease had to come in together here into turn number 1, and this is how Michael Lease ended up down the order. Well, this is Tom Davidson. He was ahead. Michael Lease got it wrong of his own volition. You can see him there, and Tom Davidson being tapped by, I believe, the car of what was, unless I'm mistaken, it was one of the Full Tilt Motorsport cars, and we'll try to start. I think that was William Guthrie, and that's Davidson sideways, and that's where the chain reaction started, because Guthrie then went sideways, and they came back to battle each other, and well, from there things got a little bit heated. But that's what happened on the opening 3 laps in terms of major incidents. But let's not dwell on that any longer. We need to come back to your live racing now, because there's plenty to talk about here in the live here and now. And as we can see, Conrad Kula, he's on the attack versus Wojciech Swierdajc, or should I say he's really on the defence right now for Garen Gardner instead, as they make the way out of what is turn number 5. You're looking back from the rear of your leading Pro-Am car, currently in 4th place in a world of his own in terms of the Pro-Am field, with Michael Lease down in 10th place, your 2nd place Pro-Am driver. But the point is that Kula right now enjoying a solid run, and he's just got to keep this together over the whole distance if he's able to do so. And then he could be landing his first class victory of the season in round number 2 of the championship. And given the fact this is his debut season, I think he'll be very happy with that as they head for a Druids Bend. Well, right now, God, they're waiting, having to be very earnest in the wings there, as it is the Hyundai Elantra being chased by 2 Audi RS3s. And again, we saw the Audis very strong in qualifying. The Elantra's not quite up there, although there were a couple of Hyundais inside the top 10. But in the race conditions, this Elantra seems to now be going a little bit stronger. And while they are on a fixed setup, the point is some of those setups will work better for qualifying compared to the race. And Kula definitely able to extract more out of the car over the distance of the laps. But as they come out of what is turn number 5 with a bit more fuel in the car as well, that's going to help in there and make the car feel a bit heavier and more stable potentially, as they make the way up towards what will be at turn number 1 once more. Well, right now, Conrad Kula just managing this race as best as he can as we head towards the halfway point. Further back outside the top 10 in the fight for what is 13th place. We briefly lose him and then see him re-materialise from the ether. This is Tom Davidson under pressure from William Guthrie. Just in front is his teammate Andrew Pike, is Davidson's teammate, we should say, for the Sim Racing Collective. And they're trying to work together here with what is Guthrie being right behind Kieran Smart, the Track Scotland, what is a blue and green machine. Well, he's currently 3rd place in the Pro-Am class with Russell Fowler behind. And remember what we said about Russell Fowler, wherever he qualifies, don't count him out for making his way through the field. And that's exactly what he's doing right now, in the fact he's already made his way from 8th in terms of the Pro-Am class all the way up to 4th, and he's on where's the coattails there of Kieran Smart for 3rd place. So he is chasing down that podium and doing a good job of doing so as they make the way on through turn number 5. But as they come on around, well, from them we look back to the AM lead battle. This is Mark Sykes, where he's your AM leader all over the back of Alan McCain, and only half a second behind is Marcel Fritsch in the battle of the 2 Hondas. Matthew Jordan's also there with them, and right now Matthew Jordan is of course potentially to be picking up his 2nd what is AM podium of the season after what was that season opening podium he picked up. He's going to try and do it again as Duncan Riser looks up the inside. In the end he decides to switch back, not having enough leverage there to go up the inside of Jordan, but puts the pressure on, does the Pro-Am driver as they make the way on out of the corner, and up the rise they go, but still they stay as they were for now. But Duncan Riser goes all in on the brakes. Jordan sees it coming and decides to give all the space there. I think a wise move from Matthew Jordan. No, he doesn't need to fight, but right now Jonathan Collins tries to get involved in this as we ride on board with WSS Racing at 123 Veloster, and as he comes out of turn number 3, well, right now we're at the back of Jordan, but which way is he going to go? Is he going to go left or right? He's going to look left, but in the end decides to stay right, and as they come on through at McLaren's and in towards Clearways, onto the brakes they go, and Collins right now and staying very close behind, but it is one of the situations whereby he's got to think about a move, and in the end he's going to go for it as he tries to squeeze his way out the inside, and Collins is going to be side by side now as they make the way up towards lap number 13, and who's going to be the one who's the boulder on the brakes since Paddock Hill Bend? Well, the Velocity's up the inside, and Collins surely is going to get this move done, but Jordan tries to cut back there, smart move, but takes too much apex curb, and by mounting it he'll cost himself momentum, and Jonathan Collins moves up into 3rd place in the AM class there with a classic move into Paddock Hill Bend, but I can imagine that Jordan will be trying to come back at him in due course. But as they make the way down in towards what will be a turn number 3, up the inside goes Alexander Paulik. Paulik makes contact with Jordan, sent round up onto the grass, and in the end, well, bold move, doesn't quite pay off for Paulik, and well, it's going to be a frustrating moment there for the pair of them. And I'm sure they'll talk about it after the race. You can see there, Paulik trying to give the place back, letting Wes Jordan come back on through. So great race of respect being shown there by Alexander Paulik, knowing what he's done and immediately apologising for it, even flashing his lights there. But coming from gentlemanly racing and now to another gentlemanly kind of racing. Well, this is going to be William Guthrie and Tom Davidson fighting. We'll wonder if these two are going to end up squaring off, and the answer is yes, they are. And as they make the way on through Druids Bend, which still side by side with the number 46 getting ahead by nose as Davidson Rail goes up the inside into Graham Hill Bend. Side by side they go in towards the left-hander. They're fighting over what is 12th place here, and behind them is Kieran Smart, who's going to try and make it 3 wide as they come down towards what we turn number 4. And in the end, it's 2 wide there with Smart on the inside, but that's going to leave him exposed to Andrew Pike, who's going to try and get through, but Pike can't quite get fully alongside through turn number 4 into 5, and out the right-hander they go. Behind Sanford Olsen's been turned, and that is going to act as an obstruction to what is Javsa Sabula. When then they're able to clear it very quickly, but that leads to a 3 wide here, a staggered 3 wide, and that's Matthew Addy on the inside in the fight for 5th of the prime class. Lewis Delmont behind him, Ben Altria as well trying to get involved. They're in 3 mangled cars, all wearing war wounds, and as they head over the crest and into the breakings over Paddock Hill Bend, well, Matthew Addy's the one who will lead the trio of through. They're all 3 prime drivers, all trying to keep on pushing as much as they possibly can. But as they roar the way in towards Druids Bend, well, right now, Ben Altria on the back of this group must be thinking to himself, what can I do to get through? And the answer is he's got to be a little bit more aggressive here in the 504, as right now the full Torque Motorsport boosted Motorsport machine is all there and waiting to attack. But the problem is that right now the Honda and the Audi in front of him have just got a little bit more on the legs. But as they head in towards turn 4, it's going to be Altria falls back there for a brief moment. He has got a 1.2 second buffer to Yavsa Sabula, so he won't feel the pressure from the 20th place driver, but the pressure will be building the fact he hasn't got many more laps to go, because whilst we are on to lap number 16 by the time they cross the timeline, that feels like a long way away, but in reality it's definitely not. And well, speaking of realities right now, Luciano Witvoet is also experiencing the reality, which is with that maximum success balance of 56.1 kilograms, well, he's made some great progress, but right now I don't think he's going any further forward. Instead he's going to try and consolidate what's this 5th place and keep Gavin Gardner, Mikey Doe and Alex Meredith at bay, albeit they're all forming a long line of queues here in towards what will be turn number 4. But is it going to be an opportunity for Gardner in the fact he's got a much lighter car in the battle between where's the 2 Audis, but can he find a way to get alongside? And the answer is no, he can't at the moment, but Gardner playing the patience game here, and that's what you've got to do. As looking up to the battle for second place, well, Lee Horn and Wojciech Swierdijk literally nose to tails. They head across the timeline. Adam Delmont makes his way through your picture there, and as he comes over the crest, well, right now Adam Delmont catching up to almost lap down car Sam Bradley. In fact, multiple laps down. They're 2 laps down at this point due to damage picked up on the opening laps, to correct ourselves. But the point being, as Delmont comes up behind his teammate, he'll be hoping for a quick exchange and a quick swap of the places. Lee Horn instead right now has got to worry more and more about the fact he's got a growing pressure from Swierdijk in the fight for second, but he's not going to give up easily in the fact that Horn is one of those drivers. He's come all the way through the field. He's come through where's the prime class all the way into the pro class as of what was season number 6, and there he stayed ever since, given the performance he's put together. And as Horn makes his way to turn number 5, he'll right now be looking to hold off one of the ultimate pro drivers out there, as Swierdijk, a 2-time champion, and Lee Horn knows that to hold a 2-time champion behind, you've got to have something magical in the tank as they head up towards the timeline and complete another lap. But as they stay distant to each other from them, we have had a change further on down. Ben Altria has found his way past Lewis Delmont in the battle for what is 6th place in the prime class. Lewis Delmont having a brief off track, and that was at Graham Hill Bend from what I'm hearing in my ear. And as they head on towards the timeline and up towards what will be what will turn at number 1, roaring the way on through. Well, right now in that fight for his 18th place overall, a 6th place in prime class is going nowhere for Lewis Delmont, other than he's waiting for an opportunity to try and make the move when he can. But as he tries to, well, unfortunately, if you are a Matthew Jordan fan, ladies and gentlemen, from what I'm hearing, the car is in the pit lane being repaired at the moment after that contact with Alexander Paulik, and I can see a number of you there in the YouTube chat and also the Twitch chat, particularly shout outs to Sullivan Stacey and also Adam Smith Hobbs, who are both cheering on Matthew Jordan. And we'll let you know if that car has left the pit lane, but I believe there's a bit of damage on the car at the moment and it's not going anywhere at this time. But speaking of going places, as Mark Sykes goes up the inside of Reese Watt, well, this is your AM leader trying to carve his way past the Pro-Ams, but he's taking unnecessary risks, and that sends Watt sideways as it does. Wood instead Duncan Marais, and meanwhile it's Marcel Fritsch who just comes into the scene of the incident, and as he goes around the outside, I think for what he's going to be a little bit fuming at that. Alan McCain picks up 2 places at the price of 1 incident as the Irish esports driver carries on through, and right now Marcel Fritsch is just hoping these prime drivers will get clear so that way he can have an open goal to fight with what's Mark Sykes at the end of the race. But the problem is that right now Mark Sykes is trying to make that Honda as wide as possible. It doesn't want to let anybody through, but as he tries to prove himself to be what is the immovable object, well, we come back to Joe Doble and Tom Davidson and William Guthrie all riding together as we look back for the rear of what is the number 11 Hyundai Veloster for Doble Sim Racing. This is in the battle for 11th place right now, best of the rest, and arguably the most valuable spot if you can't finish inside the top 10, because you'll carry no success ballast into the next race. race if you're a pro driver. And as they make the way up towards what will be turn number 1, the number 11 driver right now, 9 at Tom Davidson and William Guthrie right there. You can see Guthrie taking a sneak peek to the inside. Really right now trying to look up the inside of Davidson to put him under a bit of pressure to try and make a move. Davidson in turn doesn't fall for it, but that Honda is getting closer and closer. The power of dreams is definitely right now trying to make this a nightmare for Doble as they come out of 2 and in towards 3. Feeks the inside there, but then again decides not to give him the way. The corner cranes round to the left-hand side as they all run a little bit wide, albeit they'll get away with it this time as they head up towards what will be at turn 4. But onto that braking zone they'll go, and Joseph Doble right now absolutely keeping it together as much as he possibly can and really hoping that Guthrie will fight with Davidson and force the 2 of them to fight each other rather than him, and he'll try and back those 2 Hondas into each other as much as he possibly can. As they head on to the next lap, with laps continue to tick away. Well, from them, we do see what is a little bit further down the order, Kieran Smart, one of the Track Scotland drivers, as he heads across the timeline there. And we do say hello to Mark Wyness in the YouTube chat, cheering on fellow family member of Stuart Wyness, but also cheering on Track Scotland as a whole. And Kieran Smart right now looking comfortable for what is a 3rd place in the Prime class, so long as he doesn't let Russell Fowler get along the inside of him. But of course, who's right behind him, and we ride on board here, which none other than Rd2 Esports, is Russell Fowler in the number 17, as he looks to try and put the pressure on here right towards the end of the race. And as they make their way through, it's not just for what is the 3rd place of the Prime class, but they're also fighting for the final overall Drivers' Championship point for 15th place. Remember, the scoring system has been revised for this season to align with the BTCC scoring system, and it means that overall points are only awarded from 1st through to 15th, and all teams will have to nominate 2 drivers ahead of each and every round who will be the point scorers in the teams' championships. And of course that works out for teams that have only got 2 drivers, and the fact that their drivers have to nominate themselves each and every time. When you've got multiple drivers on the grid beyond 2, that's where you have to be quite tactical. But right now, put all the teams' points aside, it's personal here as Fowler looks to get the better run coming out Paddock Hill Bend. It's going to be Smart, runs a little bit wide, goes to fence in the middle of the road. Russell Fowler thinks about the outside here, but in the end it just opts to go a little bit deeper to mount that apex curve and carry the car through. But no change here, as right now Smart absolutely on the money for each and every braking zone in that Elantra, and no sign that front tyre wear going away from as Russell Fowler takes a brief excursion, given the dirty air and unsighted at the apex. We're coming in towards turn number 4 and up towards 5. Well, they stay absolutely locked in here. We can see on that left to right direction change, that's where the Audi is struggling a little bit compared to the Elantra, and therefore just losing half a tenth on the approach to clearways, and that is what is making the difference as they come onto the start finish straight. And the fact he's not close enough to really pounce, although saying that, as they go onto the penultimate lap, he's thinking about it, as in the foreground, that's Tom Davidson battling side by side with William Guthrie trying to go around the outside. That's very brave from Davidson. They have a rub, they have contact, but they survive it, and as they make the way the hill, William Guthrie now back on the inside into Druids Bend, and will try to get the place back there for 12th place, and will return it as they make the way on towards what will be Graham Hill Bend. But a great try there from Tom Davidson and make the move stick in an unconventional manner, and who can blame him for giving it everything with only a couple of laps left. But as he does so, and we look to the front of the field, well, the white flag waves this time because it will be lap 24 that he's about to go on to. And Adam Delmont right now 2 seconds clear at a bit of a world of his own, with Lee Horn following through. And I think Lee Horn flashes lights there. I don't know if he realises this isn't the end of the race. The end of the race is at the end of the next lap. But if so, as he makes way through, I think he's suddenly got his head in gear and realised, no, I'm on lap 24. I haven't finished yet. And Wojciech Swerdowicz is right behind me as they make the way in towards turn number 2. But as they come around, well, Conrad Kula, your leading Prime driver, in a very happy 4th place at the moment. And well, he is ahead of Luciano Witvoet, his teammate, as they make the way down, a little bit separated by Sam Bradley's Amcar that's a couple of laps down, but Whitford's putting the flashing lights on next. He wants to get clear of Gardner and Mikey Doble as quickly as he can, and well, to do so he needs any traffic out of his way, and Bradley responds in kind immediately by clearing the road. But as they come in towards it, he turns 4 and 5, well, we look to the front of the field, and as he comes through the final corner, having started on pole, he's not let it go since the start of the race, and Adam Delmont will come on through to take victory in the first race of the day at Brands Hatch, ahead of Lee Horn and Wojciech Swerdowicz to complete the top 3. It'll then be Conrad Kula who will take what will be victory there in the Prime class. Luciano Witvoet will take 5th, and behind him Mikey Doble just sneaks ahead of Gavin Gardner to 6th, literally by a hair's width. Alex Meredith will take 8th ahead of Isaac Doble. Michael Lees will take the 2nd place spot in the Prime class and complete your top 10. Well done to him. And then it will be a little bit further back, Kieran Smart, who completes the top 3 of the Prime class, and with it 15th and takes the final overall point. Mark Sykes will be your victor there, 22nd overall. Congratulations to Mark Sykes. Marcel Fritsch runner-up in the AM class there with a 26th place finish, and then Jonathan Collins makes his way back onto the AM podium with 28th overall, the 3rd place in the class, as all the drivers have come on through. Craig Tillerson being our final driver to finish on the lead lap there, and well, what a race between our drivers as the Rd2 Esports driver makes his way around. Well, it is going to be a happy celebration for Adam Delmont, in taking that victory, and his first victory of the season. There you can see he's absolutely ecstatic with that car immediately as he makes his way on down pit lane, and as he does so, parks right up where the podiums would be. Lee Hornet just behind him, Wojciech also in, and Conrad Kula as well having a fantastic run to what was a victory in the Prime class, and absolutely faultless for fourth there, no doubt about it. But as Aura drives pile into the pit lane, and we see Mark Sykes coming on down as well there, the AM winner, making it a second AM win of the season, albeit had to work hard for it, and indeed I think he'll be a little bit worried about the contact between himself and the likes of Reese Wad. Was all drives at park up in the pit lane. Let's take a look at the scenic view and take you through those race results subject to any Sturds inquiries, and here they are. So after a brilliant 24-lap opener for round number 2 of season 9 of the NXTCC powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on iRacing in the orange lobby, we did see Adam Delmont take victory for NXTGEN Green by 2 seconds over NXTGEN Pink's Lee Horn. Behind him in third, Wojciech Witvoet for Semper Racing. 2 Hondas and an Audi on the podium. We saw those cars go very strong in qualifying, and they carried that momentum through into the race. Conrad Kula, meanwhile, upsetting the trend there in the Hyundai, and for World of Racing with STR Motorsports, taking a 4th place overall, and more importantly, his first prime win of the season, and a fantastic job there for the number 45 driver, head of Luciano Witvoet, who takes a 5th place there. And whilst it may not be a podium, I don't think he's going to be too upset about that, for the simple reason he'll be very pleased in what he's been able to do. And in fact, let me correct myself there before somebody corrects me. Conrad Kula did take victory in what was race number 3 at Donington Park for the Prime class, so therefore it's his 2nd win of the season, and we just double-checked that. But coming from the top 5, Gavin Garnett in 6th there for NXTGEN Pink, head of Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing, and there was Alex Meredith, Isaac Doble, and Michael Lease completing your top 10. And intriguingly there, we thought that Mikey Doble had managed to creep ahead of Gavin Garnett at the finish, but it looks as though on the post-race timing, in fact, it was Gavin Garnett who's taken 6th place in the end. So a bit of difference between our timing data and what the race results classification is. The NXTGEN Pink driver managed to sneak back ahead of Mikey Doble based on when the time was called. But still, outside the top 10 from the runner-up of Michael Lease in the Prime class, who was 10th overall for JWM Motorsport. William Guthrie was a length there, best of the rest for Full Tilt Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport. Head of Josie Doble for Doble Sim Race. They had a brilliant battling race there in the number 11, and he finished ahead of Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective esports team, and his teammate Andrew Pyatt right behind him 14th, and Kieran Smart round off the top 15 finishing positions overall. The final overall at Driver Championship point going to him, and also the Track Scotland driver a 3rd place in the Prime class. Outside the top 15, it was Russell Fallow, just missed out on the Prime podium, but took 4th in the class there for Rhino Esports and a solid drive. Head of WSS Racing's Matthew Addy, then Ben Altrier, Lewis Delman, and Yaroslav Sabula completed your top 20. Coming further afield, as we look outside the top 20, Jamie Dory was 21st in a bit of a frustrating race for the NXTGEN Pink driver, but it was Mark Sykes who took AM victory with 22nd overall for what was WSS Racing, and well done to him in the 499. Alan McCain finished 23rd ahead of Reese Watt in their back and forth battle, and Duncan Rise, also a big part of that for Goldwyn Motorsports. 26th went the way of what is your AM runner-up, Marcel Fritsch for Rhino Esports, who was close to Mark Sykes on multiple occasions, but wasn't close enough to make the ultimate challenge. And separating him from the 3rd place finish in the AM class was Stuart Winess there for Track Scotland, who finished 27th, and in your 3rd place AM finisher was Jonathan Collins in 28th for WSS Racing. Alexander Paulik finished 29th ahead of Benjamin Gregory, and then outside the top 30, let's not forget about Sam Van Olst and Craig Tillerson, who was 32nd and last of the lead lap finishers. It was 3 laps down to Sam Bradley. Well done to him for getting to the end of the race despite the difficult circumstances, and we did see unfortunate retirements of Matthew Jordan, Sam Smith, and, well, Steve Johnson there not making it to the grid, as we do believe he was meant to be in the blue lobby. So 35 starters, and in the end, a grand total of 33 finishers, of which 32 on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. And what a race to open up our bank account here in terms of the brilliant baton action at what is the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. But of course, we've got plenty more racing to come. So 2 more races on the schedule. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to step away for what it is a moment or two before race number 2, we unfortunately would like to take a moment right now to talk about some unfortunate events that occurred over the course of what was last weekend. As well, it may be in the minds of many of you, but if not, we'd like to talk about the fact that we had a demonstration this weekend of, whilst motorsport absolutely captures the hearts of many around the United Kingdom and around the globe, it's also the dangers of motorsport definitely demonstrated themselves over the weekend. And for those who are not sure what we're talking about, well, it was a tragic weekend in the United Kingdom, because for those unaware, we saw the loss of 3 competitors' lives across 2 events. Firstly, at Alton Park on Sunday the 5th of May in the Quattro Group British Supersport Championship, which was acting as support to what was the Bennett's British Superbike Racing Championship, we did see a major incident involving 11 riders, and sadly, as a result of the extreme severity of the incident, both Owen Jenner, 21 years of age, and Shane Richardson, a father of two, 29 years of age. Both passed away as a result of the incident. It was absolutely sad. It was devastating. The event immediately closed, and indeed an absolutely tragic event there at the Alton Park circuit. And our thoughts and sympathies here at NXTGEN Racing are with the Bennett's British Superbike community, the wider motorcycle racing community, and the friends and family of both Owen and Shane. But unfortunately as well, ladies and gentlemen, in a separate incident we also did see over what was last weekend, I do believe as well, on Sunday the 5th of May, in what was a qualifying heat for a Cork Autograss Racing Club event at NXTGEN, County Cork. We also saw the passing as a result of a crash for Lauren O'Brien, 13 years of age, who lost her life as a result of a crash as part of the event. And indeed, NXTGEN Racing, once again, our thoughts and sympathies are with the Cork Autograss Racing Club, the wider autograss racing community, and the friends and family of Lauren O'Brien. And it's a sad time as well for us here at NXTGEN, because a number of our staff members, being trackside marshals, have been involved in what is responding to the scenes of motorsport in incidents, and you can only just feel for everyone involved, for the riders, the marshals, the families, everyone involved there. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in order to pay our respects to what has been a tragic weekend of motorsport in the United Kingdom, we are just going to have, with the Brands Hatch Indy circuit falling silent here on iRacing, we are just going to have a minute of silence before we do move on to what is our between race break. And that minute of silence there in respect of what is the passing of three competitors this weekend. Owen Jenner and Shane Richardson as part of the Quattro Group British Supersport Championship, and separately for what was Lauren O'Brien as part of the Cork Autograss Racing Club. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now will turn our attentions to what will be race number 2 that will be coming up in approximately 5 to 6 minutes' time. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. As quickly as we finished race number 1, we are back for race number 2 here in round number 2 of the NXTCC Season 9 Orange Lobby, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available on PC known as iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles. Race number 1 saw Adam Delman absolutely tear off into the distance and take victory following a superb pole lap in qualifying, as we do see the man making his way on around here. And as he does so, can anybody stop him? Well, one thing that will definitely help to stop him in race number 2 will be the fact that we're going to be putting the 56 kilograms of success ballast in the back of that Honda, and therefore he's going to be lugging that weight around. But the thing with Adam is he will not let the weight hold him down. Indeed, he's absolutely tenacious and ferocious when he goes to chase after victories. In the Prime class, we saw Conrad Kula have a brilliant run to what was Prime victory in a 4th place overall as well, and the Hyundai Elantra driver I think will be absolutely smiling over his 2nd win of the season in class. And in the AM class, well, Mark Sonics had to definitely get his elbows out in order to hold on to victory versus Marcel Fritsch, and in the end battling just as much of the Primes around him as he did the AMs. And well, will those stories continue, and will we see repeat winners in a single round? So we've yet to see the same driver take 2 victories back-to-back in a given round this season, albeit it's early doors in the season, but it's highly competitive. But as we do say hello to a number of you in the YouTube chat who's joined us quite recently, including Phil McDougall, and well, I hope you're doing well, Phil, and also talking about the respects that were paid there towards the passing of those 3 competitors, 2 motorcyclists and also 1 autograss racer over the course of the previous weekend. And well, indeed, a bit of a dark weekend that we've come out of here into what is the first full week of May 2025. But a reminder there that motorsport, whether simulated or in real life, is dangerous, and a dark reminder there, but still, our condolences at Next Gen Racing to those who lost their lives and all those impacted by the tragedies that have unfolded. But coming from tragedies to terrific races, of course, plenty more to come here and plenty to put smiles on our faces, no doubt about it. And well, as we do, let's Matthew Jordan had a bit of a bruised end to what was his race number 1 of the day. And the fact it all went wrong when it was looking to go so right. And well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try and catch a word or two with some other drivers in due course, because we would like to get a word or two with them before we do go into this race. And let's see who we can get a word with. In fact, can we get a word with Matthew Jordan and find out how he's feeling going into what is this race? I think we can, so give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get a pat through to the man as he makes his way on around, and let's see if we can get that word in with him now. As we do get a pat through to the car for Matthew Jordan. Matthew, you got time for a quick word?
Yeah, absolutely.
Matthew, it's only your 2nd round in the championship, and well, you had an absolutely brilliant round number 1, particularly with a podium at Donington. So far this round, some good fighting, but a bit of an upsetting end to the race.
Yeah, the race started quite well, made up a few positions, which was great. I actually felt like I had an okay pace, but then yeah, it was just an unfortunate incident. I looked at the replay, perhaps left a bit more space, but I think it was just a racing incident, really.
Well, just an incident like you're saying. I love the fact you're already moving on from it into race number 2. So what are your targets for this race?
Finish the race and just make up a few positions. Hopefully top 28 would be nice, but we'll see.
Well, Matthew, we'll leave you to it and let you get prepared, but thank you for your time and good luck in race number 2.
Thank you very much.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Matthew Jordan. A very happy and forward-facing Matthew Jordan in terms of what he's going into for this race. And talking out there the fact, look back and could have perhaps given a bit more space in what was that instant in race number 1. And he's going to learn from it, most definitely going into race number 2. But can we get a word from one of our AM drivers then to one of perhaps our Prime or Pro drivers out there? I think we might be able to get a word from what is William Guthrie, given we've got a little bit of time. Is he out of the circuit at the moment? No, he's not, in fact. So therefore, we might not be able to get a word with him. We might be able to get a word with Ben Gregory, as we do see if we can get a patch through to the car. And well, as we try and get that patch through, Ben, have you got time for a quick chat?
Yeah, sure.
Ben, always good to talk to you, and well, what a load of talking points we've had so far this season for yourself and the full Tiltby Motorsport team. But before we talk about racing, new livery on the car, very colourful one at that.
Yeah, we in the round one we decided to run a throwback livery to old 90s BTCC because we thought, oh, that would be quite fun to start off the season with it, and we've gone back to a bit more of a new one. Mark was quite a nice painter to put the rainbow on it because I do a lot of Pride flag liveries personally, so it's quite nice to carry that again.
Oh, most definitely. And well, round number one saw a few elbows out between yourself and some of your fellow Pro-Am drivers. I get the feeling perhaps not the result you wanted, but race number two is just around the corner.
Yeah, I kind of had a bit of a panic coming down into Druids, seeing Stuart sideways, and I kind of panicked left. I didn't realise John was just on my rear corner, and I turned myself. It was all my own fault. I'm not really too judgmental about that. It's all one of those things, and long season. Like I'm just mostly here just to enjoy myself and win it this time.
Well, that's absolutely fair. Well, with that, we're going to leave you to it because the race is about to get underway, and we will see you at the checkered flag.
Cheers, guys.
So hearing it very quickly there, ladies and gentlemen, from Ben Gregory, and as they all make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for what will be our second race of today here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So starting on pole position from where he left off in what was race number one, it is going to be none other than Adam Delmont. He is joined in the company of what is Lee Horn there, who'll be starting in second place. And well, as all the drivers get themselves set, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a bit of an issue because we have seen the racing get underway immediately. I'm not quite sure what's happened here, but it does look as though we've immediately gone racing, so I suspect there's been a bit of an error with regards to the grid starting procedure. We will try and get an update when we can as to what's happened here, but most of the field seems to have started from the pit lane, alternatively been required to go to the pit. So give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. We will find out what's going on, but we've gone racing immediately, and I think it might be a full start, a bit of a technical issue that's triggered a full start there as all drivers make the way on around. But as they roll the way on through, I think everyone's being told now to make the way off circuit, and well, we will be getting a reformation of what will be this race to lobby. But we do apologise there for the confusion. I think there's been some sort of technical hitch that's occurred, and therefore all the drivers being told to park up their cars and make the way out of the session. So we are going to be right back once we've got some further information as to what exactly happened. But give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be able to find out what exactly has happened. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have had a quick word from our race direction, and we can confirm that what has happened, there's been a glitch with the timing tower and indeed what is the lighting system on the start-finish straight, and therefore the grid was not held as our drivers all made the way onto it. Instead, the lights went on too early, and therefore what it does mean is we are going to see the reformation of the race lobby, so therefore there will be a delay to the start of race number 2 by approximately 5 to 10 minutes. As soon as we can give you an update on the expected restart time, we will, but until then, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Well, Brands Hatch Indy circuit, I should say. We will see you in a due minute or two. And we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen. We do apologise for the delay there, but our organisers and admin team are very quick on the draw to make sure that the error that occurred has been resolved, and well, hopefully we should be able to go green flag racing once again. To explain for the unaware, we do have what is a connection from our timing tower and indeed our stewarding tower all the way down to the start lights and the start finish straight, and essentially that connection did not work the way it was expected to, and what ended up happening was that we saw the start finish light sequence go on prematurely, so therefore over half the field that had not gridded or made the way to the grid was suddenly defaulted to the pit lane, and it meant we only had about 12 cars start on the grid, the rest from the pit lane, and the race got underway, which is not what we wanted. We wanted everybody to start on the grid, of course, within the time allowance. So therefore what it does mean is that we are now only moments away from seeing the advancement back towards the gridding procedure once again, once we do have all 35 of our competitors in here. And well, in the meantime, Ordry is just out there trying to deliver lap after lap and get themselves absolutely set to go green flag racing once again. So it means in terms of our schedule, we are going to fall a couple of minutes behind schedule, and race number 2 now will most likely be getting underway in about 3 to 4 minutes time. But when we do have it go green flag racing once again, we can promise you one thing, is that we're going to be picking up from where race number 1 left off, and we're going to be picking up with some absolutely brilliant battling action here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. But as all of our drivers who are in here right now settle themselves down, most of them all in position, and I do believe we are just waiting on 1 or 2 drivers to take their slots in what will be the lobby out of 35, but once they're all there, we will be green to go. And once they all make the way on through, not too many more drivers to get into position at the moment. And I do believe, I'm just listening in with regards to race direction at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. They are just doing the final confirmation as to what's happening. And I believe we are just waiting on one last driver to make the way onto the grid, and then we will be all green to go. So absolutely perfect timing here. And if you haven't had the opportunity to grab yourself a bit of liquid refreshment, or indeed grab yourself some popcorn or a preferable snack, now is the perfect time to do so, because you'll need it for race number 2. In fact, we get what is the call to go to the grid. So therefore, this practice session will now come to a close early, and all drivers will be taken to the grid for race number 2 of round 2 of the championship. And as all of our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for the second of our races today. Adam Delmont will carry on from where he's left off with a pole position for race number 2. The next-gen green driver will be joined there by next-gen pink's Lee Horn. From them to Wojciech Swierdijk, he starts third for Semper Racing, and this time will be eagerly looking to find his way past Horn. He couldn't do it in race 1, but can he do it in race number 2? Conrad Kula, your pro and pole sitter, starts fourth, looking to make it 3 wins in his championship campaign for World of Racing at STR Motorsports, and he'll have the company of his teammate in the pro class, the Dutchman of Luciano Witvoet for World of Racing STR Motorsports there. He'll be absolutely looking to go all in our attack from the start to carry on his driver's championship momentum. Gavin Garner starts 6th there for Next Gen Pink after a great race 1. Can he compound it with a brilliant race number 2? If not, he'll have Mikey Doble right behind him for Doble Sim Racing, eager to make up places, and also Alex Meredith, who starts 8th for Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen. Isaac Doble starts 9th for Doble Sim Racing ahead of Michael Lees for JDM Motorsport, your second place Pro-Am driver on this grid. And then on what will be row number 6, you have the combination of William Guthrie for Full Tilt B Motorsport with Boosted Motorsports ahead of Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing. And then behind him on row number 7, it will be Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports in the company of his teammate Andrew Pike. They'll be looking to have a better race number 2 compared to race number 1. Kieran Smart starts 15th for Track Scotland, and just ahead of Russell Fowler for Rhino Esports, and Fowler will be keen to make it onto the podium this time round, because if not, Matthew Addy will be there to pick up the pieces WSS Racing, as will Full Tilt B Motorsport with Boosted Motorsports Ben Altria. Then we have on what is the 10th row of the grid, Lewis Delmont for Next Gen Green, and Semper Racing's Yaroslav Sabula, who had a very anonymous race number 1. Can he be a bit more of a star in race number 2? And if not, well, we will see on 21st, and Next Gen Pink's Jamie Dory looking to try and make some progress, and also there your AM pole sitter of Mark Sykes for WSS Racing, who'll know the pressure's on to keep the Pro-Ams behind him and also the AMs. But starting off those Pro-Ams, it'll be Alan McCain, who starts 23rd for iRacing Esports ahead of JDM Motorsports Reswat. Duncan Ryan starts 25th for Goldwyn Motorsports ahead of your second place AM starter Rhino Esports' Marcel Fritsch. And then you do see Stuart Wyniff starting 27th today for Track Scotland ahead of Jonathan Collins for WSS Racing, who'll be at 28th on the grid in race number 2. And then your top 30 is completed by Alexander Paulik and what is Ben Gregory there for World of Race for STR Motorsports and Full Tilt B Motorsport with Boosted Lifted Motorsport respectively. Then on row number 16, it's Sam Van Ulster for Goldwyn Motorsports ahead of Craig Tillerson for Rhino Esports. And the final four row of the grid will be Sam Bradley for NXTGEN Green and Matthew Jordan, who starts 34 for 34 starts here, one driver missing. But that's how they'll all line up with the NXTGEN pink driver completing the running order there. And, well, we're about to go green, ladies and gentlemen, because the light sequence is going on. It's going to be Delmont versus Horn. And who's going to be leading coming out of turn one? Well, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. They have a very quick light sequence. It catches out a lot of drivers immediately, but they're off. And as they make the way down, Wojciech goes between the two of them. With an early starting Moses maneuver, leaps his way into the lead. And Swierdijk was not napping, whereas everybody else was. As they come out of turn number one and up the hill they go in towards turn number two. It's side by side between Witvoet and Kula. Witvoet on the inside there, not trying to elbow his teammate out. You can see Mikey Doble sees the doors open and wants to get through immediately as all the drivers now make the way down the hill. Mark Sykes having a good start up into 23rd ahead of where's Duncan Marais there. And he's been able to hold on to Am Lee. That's further behind Sam Bradley, getting elbows out immediately with Jonathan Collins. Staggered free wide there, up the inside of Marcel Fridge, and Sam Bradley's up into second in the Am class as quickly as he started. He's come all the way through the Am class field and started from sixth. He's moved into second, but as he makes his way towards turns 4 and 5, who knows, plenty more on him now in terms of expectations. Alan McCain decides to trim the weeds there. I think he might have been assisted into that endeavour as he comes on through turn number 4 and up towards Clearways now, and the car crawling around there, but finally gets it back onto the circuit. But after one lap, it's Wojciech Swierdijk who leads, ahead of Adam Delmont in second, Luciano Witvoet in third, Conrad Kula is your prime leader in fourth, ahead of Mikey Doble in fifth. We have Gavin Gardner in sixth, ahead of Alex Meredith seventh, Isaac Doble eighth, Lee Horn ninth, and William Guthrie completes your top 10. But I've had it announced to my ear, ladies and gentlemen, a jump start for Alexander Paulik. He's had to conduct with a drive-through penalty. He makes his way through, and as they do, there's been a huge shunt there at what is Druid's Court as we look from the pit lane up towards what is turn number 2. It clears as quickly as it's happened, however, albeit Sam Van Ulster there now on the inside of what is there the JWM Motorsport car of Reese Watt, but it's Van Ulster who's ejected out onto the grass of what is turn number 3 at Graham Hill Bend. Not quite sure how that all started, but we have seen how it all ended. We'll try and get a replay of that when we can, but as all of our drivers now get themselves a bit settled down, well, Sam Bradley they're looking around the outside of Marcel Fritsch, and as he goes all the way round the outside there, it's going to be side by side between the two Honda drivers in the battle for second place in what is the AM class as they make the way on towards another lap, but it's going to be Fritsch on the inside there, Bradley still on the outside, Ben Gregory watches on from behind, and as they're coming towards Paddock Hill Bend, they're still side by side on corner exit, albeit Bradley there finding a little bit of gravel for his endeavours. Ben Gregory's going to make it free wide here. That's very bold of the prime driver to do so, and in the end Sam Bradley backs off, recognising free does not go into Druids at the best of times, but he does get a brilliant slingshot out the corner, and now Marcel Fritsch has to defend the inside of Graham Hill Bend. Sam Bradley's looking one way, then the other. He's absolutely throwing everything at this as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the number 7 AM car from Verano Esports, and right now Verano's driver Marcel Fritsch is absolutely having to dig in here as much as possible and make himself a fortress for this second place, and Mark Sykes has just been allowed to crawl away. You can see there is some damage to the front end of the car of Sam Bradley. I think he might have been caught up in that major shunt that we saw. We'll get you a replay of that when we can, ladies and gentlemen, but as they make the way out towards the timeline, well, Wojciech Swierdijk may be leading this race. He may have taken the lead of the canter, but he hasn't cantered off into the distance because Adam Delmont's right back with him now as they come down in towards turn number 3. And Adam Delmont in that Honda, I don't know what they've done with that car, but I can tell you one thing, it is absolutely flying out there, even with the ballast in it. And well, right now the number 37 driver is right on the heels of the Audi leader and looking to try and take the place back. But as they head in towards turns 4 and 5, we'll make it the way on through as we have got Jamie Dory leaving the pit lane as we look at my quality booth window. I think with the damaged car finally being repaired, while Isaac Doble on the inside there of Alex Meredith as they make the way through turn number 5, and as they come over the crest and down towards 1, or shall I say up to it, we're still too wide between the two of them as they head in towards the braking zone, and it's going to be Isaac Doble on the inside there by a nose, but Alex Meredith is going to fight this all the way round but loses the rear slightly, and as a result it's going to cost him momentum as Lee Horn now goes up the inside there in what is the very shiny and extra pink machine, and Meredith's going to lose 1, he's going to lose 2 places because William Guthrie also goes up the inside. And Guthrie's not going to pull punches here as they come down towards turn number 3, albeit Meredith's not going to back out even. In the end gets back ahead as Guthrie goes to the cutback, but Meredith parks it on Apex and says, I've seen that one many a time in a BTCC race, I'm not going to let it happen. But as they head in towards turn 4, well, Guthrie watches on as Andrew Pike and Joe Doble queue up behind Tom Davidson also there, and now they all go line astern. Meanwhile, Mikey Doble at the inside there of Conrad Kula on the exit clearways as they come up towards what will be at lap number 6. They'll roar their way onto it very quickly, and Doble right now trying to pick up the pace here as he makes his way onto this lap, given the fact the top 3 here just in the foreground of your camera shot. They're not too far away. He wants to try and get back at them quicker than most. But as they come on down and in towards what will be Druids, well, you can see that Doble having to go defensive. Comrade Cooler looks around the outside. Gavin Gardner, meanwhile, has the perfect popcorn seat view as we ride on board with the 6th place running 11. And well, the next gen pink Audi RS3 right now, it's on the prowl. It's looking for an opportunity, but you can see where this battling is costing them the ability to stay with that top 3. Albeit I would imagine here that for what is Mikey Doble and Comrade Cooler, they'll be cognizant of the fact that the more they squabble, the more time they'll lose, and therefore they're only going to push themselves backwards rather than forwards, and that's not the direction they want to be going in as they make their way through turn number 5. But coming over the crest and down there to complete the lap, they finally settle down for a brief moment, and well, Cooler's going to be having quite a bit of success ballast in the car. I think he's actually going to have more than what the victory in the Prime class would carry him for there, or practically the same amount given the fact he finished 4th in what was the first race of the day. But the point being, he's got a very heavy laden car, and getting to grips with that is also going to be a bit of a challenge for him as they head in towards what we drew as Bend. But Doble having to go defensive once again, and definitely Cooler right now keeping Doble honest all the way around. But as they make the way down towards Graham Hill, well, from then we look to Mark Sykes, Am leader, as he's over the back of Reese Watt, and these two getting very familiar with each other here at Brands Hatch Indy today. Given the fighting they had in race number 1, they're having even more fighting here in race number 2. But meanwhile, speaking of two class drivers who are fighting with other classes, well, Jonathan Collins also trying to pick his way past the Prime of Sam Van Olst is the Am driver there, but no way through. As Alexander Paulik, meanwhile, with that drive-through penalty at the start of the race, it put him all the way to the back of the field for a jump start, and he's trying to pick his way past Ben Altrier here, a wounded Ben Altrier. The full tilt will be Motorsport Elantra losing the front bumper, and that's costing a lot of front end in terms of top line speed, but also front end steering as they make the way in towards what will be turns 4 and 5. But left into right they go, and Paulik here tries to get up the inside, battling with his prime rival. Bitting follows Altrier a little bit deep. He will get a nose in on the exit there coming out of Clearways, but the problem is he won't be able to extend the throttle as much as the Elantra driver will, and now he's going to try and beat him on a drag race, which the Audi is very good at, to be fair, but the Elantra's no slouch. In towards turn 1 they go, and Paulik up the inside here. This will be for 11th in the Prime class from key points. Goes up the inside and gets it done there, and Altrier doesn't really have a response. I can imagine the damage on the car making it very hard to respond. But from the responsive battles further down the field to the response at the front of the field from Lee Horn, we had a bit of a slow start, but right now trying to pick up the pace, as that's going to be Alex Meredith on his inside, and Meredith looking to make a place here as Isaac Dole pulled away earlier on. But as they go in towards the braking zone here is going to be Meredith on the left of your picture, Horn on the right, and Alex Meredith up the inside there, up into 8th place very quickly, and as he makes way through, Horn not wanting to fight it too hard, the sister car for Next Gen Racing, instead wary of the fact that William Guthrie and Andrew Pike are all queuing up and trying to get themselves ready to get involved in the fight. Meanwhile, we had a bit of an instant between it was Luciano Witvoet and Adam Delmont. Well, at least Adam Delmont thinks so, because he's flashed his lights. They're not too happy with the way Whitfoot's made that pass. I wonder if there was a little bit of a lean between the two. He's flashing his lights there, but Whitfoot's just carrying on, saying, well, mind your own business, as they make their way towards turns 4 and 5, and Sweardich being 1 second up the road, we're trying to break away. But talking about taking a break, we're going to take a bit of a breather here from all the live racing and bring you what exactly happened on lap number 2, a major shunt involving multiple drivers, and here is the replay. And well, this is what exactly happened. So it was coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, and well, Russell Fowler making his way up the rise onto the brakes, ends up tapping the 504 of Ben Altrier, goes straight on, collides into the side of Kieran Smart. That triggers off a chain reaction. The 180 there of Yosa Sabula gets caught out as well. Fowler tries to get the car off the road. Craig Tillotson has to slam on the brakes. A nightmare instant for multiple drivers. And well, we ride on board with Craig Tillotson's perspective here. And well, it was a lot further down the order at the time, but as he made his way through Paddock Hill Bend, he's not going to know that anything's really happened at this point, as he was chasing after was Matthew Jordan. And then Sonny, he might see a little puff of smoke a bit further up the road. In fact, he doesn't, turns on in, and as he does so, finds that his escape route is blocked by Russell Fowler, who's just trying to get out the way there. So a bit of a nightmare moment for the pair as we do return to your live racing action. And as we do, well, it's only for an intermittent moment, because we are now going to take a look at the pass that was made by Luciano Witvoet on Adam Delmont, and why Delmont is flashing his lights so earnestly. And this was on lap number 9, 2 laps ago, and this was heading up towards what was turn number 2 into Druids. Witvoet swings the inside hard on the brakes, and as he came on through, a bit of a rub between the two of them. Delmont was run a little bit wide out there, but not unfairly necessarily. I think that being right on the limit of what's legal, but Luciano Witvoet there getting his elbows out, and Adam Delmont realising that Whitfoot's not here just to make up the numbers as we return to your live racing. But as we do, we'll still plenty more racing to come, and will the number 60 driver here, who we're looking at right now, enjoying a good run, and once they roar the way on through, will Adam Delman absolutely on attack, so much so he's actually drawn the observation of our steward in terms of track limits. He's picked up his first track limit strike of the day, or his first warning. He won't want to pick any more of those up, but from what is at the front of the field in one sense to the front of the Anfield in another sense, where's your 21st runner of what is Mark Sykes. He's got Muscle Fridge closing, and Sykes still tucked onto the back of Reese Watt, and Benjamin Gregory's been pulled back into this, but the point being that Mark Sykes right now already seeing his race dictated by the pace of what is Watt in front of him, and once they come over the crest and in towards turn number 1, if he can't find his way past Watt, or Watt's pace is not enough, he'll find Muscle Fridge closes on him very quickly. As right now the Vrana Esports WS Racing driver makes his way up into what is at turn number 2. And you can imagine that right now that number 7 Honda Civic Type R is going to be very eager to try and also pick up its second win of the season after one win apiece between the two drivers at Donington Park. But Sykes, of course, taking the first and win here at Brands Hatch Indy today, and therefore it does mean that right now, all things on balance, Fritsch will want to take a win of his own. But as they come up towards what will be turns 4 and 5, they stay as they are for now, but from drivers who are staying as they are to drivers who are right in the thick of it, as it's a big scramble here towards turn 1, looking from one side to the other, that is William Guthrie trying to find a way to outfox Lee Horn, but Horn right now just taking his time with this and making sure that his fellow Honda drivers can't find a way through as they all scramble under braking there through what was turn number 2 for Druids. We've run on board then, almost have the rear camera taken off the back of the number 36 from NXTGEN Pink, and Horn right now has got, what is that, Honda Civic Type R of William Guthrie so close you can actually read the Type R badge on the front. But as they make their way in towards what is at turn 4 and then 5, well right now Alex Meredith a little bit further up the road, they're all chasing after Gavin Gardner in the battle for 7th effectively, albeit Horn right now being a little bit of proverbial cork in the bottle, preventing Guthrie, Pike and what is Davidson from progressing more as all these drivers make the way on around. They are as they were on the previous lap, and that's the thing with this Brands Hatch Indy circuit, it's all about trying to goad your rival into a mistake. But speaking of that, as Alex Meredith swings to the outside there, absolutely using the momentum in that Veloster as he comes through Paddock Hill Bend, putting on under absolutely sensational pressure here as they make their way up into the braking zone. Can't find his way through, but trying to do everything he can to do so. Joe Doble meanwhile up the inside there, Davidson through Druids, that's up into 12th place. If he can make it stick, the problem is he goes from a right-hander to a left-hander, so what was once the inside is now the outside, and Doble has to back off there. 9, there's not enough tarmac to carry on, but as they come through the corner and up towards what will be turn number 5, well Davidson right now has got Doble absolutely locked in to try and make a move on him, and therefore will drop off the battle for what will be this 7th place of Gavin Gardner. It'll pull them both back towards the battle for 12th place and bring Lewis Delman and Matthew Addy into the picture. Speaking of which, Lewis Delman's up into 2nd place in the Prime class, and Matthew Addy close behind in the 2 Prime peers, but as they head onto the start-finish straight, well here comes Alex Meredith again, looking for a move around the outside, can't quite find it. William Guthrie meanwhile, this time on the inside of Lee Horn. Horn goes a bit sideways coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Guthrie's going to be there. I think this is going to work for Guthrie. 3 wide as it's going to be Andrew Pike looking around the outside, but he decides to back off and just tease, and as they make the way on down through Druids Bend, well right there it was a case of just put it alongside and then suddenly lift off, but there's going to be Pike looking up the inside absolutely right now, trying to push as hard as he possibly can, the Sim Racing Collective Esports 57. As he looks one way and then looks the other, and right now for Andrew Pye, you can imagine his patience is wearing thin. And well, I can tell you one thing about Andrew Pye, you never normally hear him getting angry. He's normally one of the most patient and understanding drivers in the field, but everyone has their limits, and right now I think he's absolutely eager to get past Lee Horn, because it is an absolute struggle. But if William Guthrie can do it, then Pye's going to be saying, well, why can't I? As he looks around the outside in towards turn 1 this time, on the brakes they go, but can he get it all the way around the outside? No, he can't. He cuts back in here, but Horn just drags his feet through the corner, you can see there, but Pye's going to swing to the inside here as they make the way out there towards the braking zone. Pike goes all in on the brakes, Horn does as well, and as they come around, the Sim Racing Collective Honda finally finds its way through, and Horn going a bit deep is going to open up the door to Davidson. Davidson looks around the outside, but Graham Hill-Ben says no to Davidson's charge, and therefore it's going to be Lee Horn who just lets one through, not another, as Lee Horn continues to struggle on here. But as they make the way in towards turns 4 and 5, well, from them, the lead battle right now is continuing to intensify, because this is Wojciech Swerdowicz and Luciano Witvoet, and Witvoet in what is a bit of a lighter car is continuing to make his way up through the field, having started in 5th place. Well, right now looking for plenty more opportunities. They make the way in towards what will be Paddock Hill Bend in a bit of a lighter car compared to Swerdowicz, so therefore that's going to help him out somewhat as they head in towards Druids. Well, he's close, but not close enough to think about a move. William Guthrie, meanwhile, trying to poke his nose up the inside of Gavin Gardner, but Gardner shutting the door firmly in his face and saying, no, you don't. And right now, I think William Guthrie's getting ready to say, I wasn't asking, but Lee Horn has got to try and deal with Tom Davidson, who's going to go around the outside of Druids. That is very very, very bold from Davidson, but he almost makes it stick there. Credit where it's due for the Sim Racing Collective Drive, trying to do the unconventional, and they've got a long way to go in this race as they make the way out the corner, and with Joseph Doble right behind, Davidson's there on the inside of 4, but he's going to put on the outside of clearways into 5 as they come through. Horn absolutely trying to make himself as wide as humanly possible here, and as they make the way through the corner, now you've got what is Joe Doble pushing Horn along here to say to no, keep going, I'm going to get up the inside here as they make the way down the start finish straight. Well, here they go then as we ride on board, looking back from the rear, the number 36, and that's Doble looking around the outside into the braking zone. Can he go for it? No, he can't, but here comes Lewis Delmon, absolutely like a missile up the inside, in he has to mount the curb in order to give space to what is Davidson, but Doble trying to go around the outside up into the braking zone under the car loop board, and as they make the way through Druids Bend, well, Joe Doble sneaks on through as Lewis Delmon and Tom Davidson now exchange paintwork and also what will be contact numbers for the insurance claim afterwards, albeit there won't be insurance claims here right now because they make the way on through. This is true touring car racing as it comes, and as they make the way towards turns 4 and 5, it's a long line of stern formation. Michael Lees is on the back of this battle right now as they come in towards turns 4 and 5, and Lees is trying to go for what is a podium in the prime class, and where he's got 2 podium opportunities in front of him because Matthew had his 3rd in prime, Lewis Delmon is 2nd in prime, and they're all together right in front. But Conrad Kula right now, all the way up in 6th place, is probably wondering what on earth's going on further back down the field. Well, thankfully we get to see it, he won't get to see it until he checks out the broadcast the next day, but as they make the way through into the corners in the AM class as well, everyone's starting to kick off there. As you can see, Mark Sykes, he's still behind Reese Watt, but Marcel Fritsch is now within 6 tenths of Sykes, so he's creeping closer, so we'll keep our eyes on that as well. As we say hello to John Meredith in the YouTube chat, and well, as quickly as we talk about John Meredith, we talk about his son Alex Meredith, who right now is trying to hold on to 7th and Gavin Gardner, with William Guthrie and Andrew Pike getting closer and closer here. So it's all happening wherever you look at the moment, up and down the field, and well, the Brands Hatch Indy circuit delivering some brilliant racing, but a different calibre of racing compared to Donington Park, which is it's all about staying with the pack and trying to get the driver in front to make a tiny mistake. But as they come on through at it's turn number 5, the figures they can give each other little nudges, they can give each other little pushes, but a push to pass where it's clear that a driver's gained by giving another driver a push off the road, that is where we'll draw the line. And as they make the way in towards turn 1, well, that is going to be a big send there from Joseph Doble on Lee Horn. Horn almost falls for it. In fact, he does. He thought Doble was going to go in, so nearly immediately rejoins and scrambles to the inside. And now here comes Davidson looking around the outside of Doble, but he can't quite find it again. Davidson just home to watch on there. He's so eager to make the move, but the problem is he's not in the right place at the right time to make the magic happen, and well, it is literally hundreds between them where the move lies as they roar the way out to turn number 3, as Stuart Winus is now getting on the back of this. We've got a prime pack queuing up behind a pack of pros here. You couldn't make this up as they make the way through turn 4 into 5, and well, as they roll the way through clearways. Well, right now Lee Horn absolutely trying to hold on here as much as he possibly can, but I think even he's going to have his limits. He makes his way across that time line to go on to lap number 21. We look back again from what is the leader of this battle for 11th place. You can understand why they all want to be there, of course, in the fact that this is the first of the eligible positions with no success ballast, and it's also within the potential reverse grid positions, and they'll be hoping 11 or 12 are pulled from the lottery bowl right now. But Lee Horn is just digging in as much as he can and making to try and pick up some points as well. It's going to be, I think, 4 points in this position, and it's going to be the hardest earned 4 points that any driver's had to make this season so far. But as he roars his way on around through where it's turn number 3, well, from them we do look a little bit further down the odds. Alexander Paulik and Russell Fowler, as they look to battle for 10th place in the prime class, they're all over the back of Sam Valls, who's 9th in said class. This is the fight for 25th position, and for them it's some key points in their championship as well. As you can see, Paulik right now looking left, looking right on Fowler, and practically pushing him through Graham Hill Bend. But as they come through the left-hander and up towards the left to right of turn number 4, was there going to be a way through for Paulik? It's going to be an attempt there on the inside, but backs off at the apex, and well, losing a lot of momentum there, and very quickly. It's very easy to lose momentum through the left into right there, as coming back to the front of the field, that's Andrew Pike trying to go around the outside, avoids Gavin Garner, William Guthrie up the inside there, and that is for 8th place in terms of their fight with Gavin Garner. But Guthrie moves up into 9th behind, with Pike falling back to 10th there. He'll be a bit gutted at that one, but he'll still have a couple more laps to throw at this. As you can see, then the next pack of cars makes its way on through, and as they all come through to 4 and 5 right now, no change between them afterwards that altercation, and Lee Horn still keeping Joe Doble right behind as they make the way on through. Where's turn number 5? There's 2 more laps after this one, and right now Horn will be wondering when exactly is the race going to end. But speaking of endings right now, Adam Delman will be hoping for a fairy tale ending to finish 3rd in this race after starting on pole and bringing home victory in race number 1. But Mikey Doble is going to try and take away that fairy tale ending by taking away a podium as he runs all over the back here of what will be Delman, making the way out of Druids Bend and in towards the corner. But from them, Guthrie versus Pike again is erupted at Druids Bend. And that is going to be this time a change of position back for what is Guthrie holding off Pike on his charge. But from them, Matthew Addy has found his way past Lewis Delmont into Druids Bend. We only caught the tail end of that on the camera. And well, Matthew Addy up into second place of the Pro-Am class now, up into 14th as Lewis Delmont glued to the back of him as they come through the left into right here. It's all happening inside and outside the top 15 as the final lap is called. And Wojciech Swerdych has gone on to said final lap, only by 6/10 over Luciano Witvoet, but there's no change between those two at the moment. So I think we're going to stay affixed to what is the battles further down the pack at this time, and then bring it back to the leader when he comes out the final quarter, albeit Gavin Gardner here right now still fend off William Guthrie, and Guthrie now only he's past Andrew Pike, well, he's all over the back of what is Gardner as they make their way up towards turn number 2, and as they do 3-1, oh no, it's all gone wrong, and in the end they all squeeze together. Gardner and what is Andrew Pike go forward, Gardner rejoins, and that is going to release what will be Horn, Doble and also Davidson all into the mix straight away as it all starts to unfold, and well, the tempers are flared, but with that we've got to come back to the front of the field because for Wojciech Swerdych it's another race 2 victory here as he comes across the line by only half a second over Luciano Witvoet to take victory. Adam Delmont will take 3rd place, and then it'll be Mikey Doe in 4th ahead of Isaac Doe 5th. Conrad Kula makes it back-to-back Pro-Am victories in 6th place ahead of Alex Meredith. William Guthrie will come home to 8th place, and a wounded Honda ahead of Andrew Pike as we see Matthew Addy speared to the wall there on the start finish straight. Joseph Doe 10th, Tom Davidson 11th, Lewis Delmont runner-up in the Pro-Am class 12th ahead of Lee Horn. Stuart Winus is 3rd place in the Pro-Am class, and then we do have Mark Seitz coming through to what is 19th overall, but there it is the victory in the AM class to make it back-to-back AM wins ahead of Marcel Fritsch, the runner-up, and Sam Bradley will take home his first podium of the season in his first round of the championship, and that will be a 3rd place in the AM class, 22nd overall. But as the last row drivers make their way to the line, let's see on through, including Craig Tillerson, who takes 5th place in the AM class, and he will be one of your last lead lap finishers. Well, I think the big question many of you will be asking, and I completely agree with you, ladies and gentlemen, is what exactly happened on that final lap to the likes of Gavin Gardner and a number of other drivers. Let's take a look back, and here are those replays of what exactly happened. And this was on the final lap. Gavin Gardner leading at this time as they made their way through. Guthrie in the middle and Pike on the outside. And in the end, Guthrie went all in. And I think all 3 drivers trying to fight over the same middle ground space of the circuit. And unfortunately, Gavin Gardner ended up in the worst possible position. But from there, well, Cameron picked up what happened to Lee Horn as well afterwards. And this was the battle down to Graham Hill Bend. Contact between Lee Horn and the number 11 of Joe Doble. But they survived it. But I don't think that was the end of it between all the drivers, because it was the big scramble here as they made their way into turns 4 and 5. And will Lee Horn out of position after that tap, and we did see, oh, good to see Michael Lees coming undone there as he came on through side by side with Matthew Addy, and well, I think this is where Matthew Addy gets speared off to what will be the barriers. Yes, he is. He's turned across the front of Michael Lees's car, and the car rolls backwards and sideways, and well, that explains what happened there, and particularly what happened to Matthew Addy to be sensible with contact Michael Lees. So a few, what was red tempers there, and the red mist definitely descending, but that's the replay of what happened there, ladies and gentlemen, and with that, let's take you through those race results, subject to any stewards inquiries, and here they are for what was race number 2 of round 2 of season 9 of the NXTCC Championship, and of course brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles for this orange lobby. Wojciech Swerdych then taking his 2nd victory of the season for Semper Racing in the Audi RS3. A brilliant job from him and holding off the charge of fellow Audi driver World of Racing with STR Motorsports Luciano Witvoet, who returns to the podium. Adam Delmont completed his race in 3rd for NXTGEN Green after that victory in race number 1. He won't be too upset about that, to carry all that weight and take 3rd. That is a great achievement. Mikey Doble finishing 4th there ahead of brother Isaac, but Double Sim Racing making it a 4th and 5th there. A great result for the team's championship and also for the drivers' respective campaigns. Conrad Kula becomes a back-to-back Pro-Am winner, taking his 3rd win of the season with 6th place overall for World of Racing with STR Motorsports, ahead of Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN. In a brilliant battle, meanwhile, William Guthrie taking 8th for Full Tilt Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport, albeit I think there will be some questions with regards to the contact between himself and Gavin Gardner and Andrew Pike. But speaking of Pike, he took 9th place for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and Joseph Doble completing a top 10 there for Doble Sim Racing. Tom Davidson will be best of the rest, 11th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of Lewis Delmont, who takes the final eligible reverse grid potential position of 12th. Runner-up in the Pro-Am class there for NXTGEN Green, well done to him. And Lee Horn in 13th place for NXTGEN Pink, just behind, just missing out on that opportunity should it arise. Stuart Winus in 14th, 3rd place finish of the Pro-Am class, taking another podium in the class. He'll be very pleased with that, will the Scotsman for Track Scotland, and taking the final overall Drivers' Championship point in 15th. Gavin Gardner for NXTGEN Pink after a frustrating end to the race after looking for back-to-back top 10 finishes. 16th was Michael Lees for JDM Motorsport after his contact with Matthew Addy right at the close. And Duncan Rise being promoted towards a sixth place finish, well, say a fifth place finish, I should say. Let's get it right the second time round in the Prime class, but 17th overall for Goldwyn Motorsports. Now it's Benjamin Gregory ahead of Mark Sykes, 19th there. And for Mark Sykes, victory comes to him once again for WSS Racing, with Respot completing the top 20 for JWM Motorsport. Outside the top 20, runner-up in the AM class was Marcel Fritsch there, 21st for Rhino Esports, ahead of third place finish in the AM class, and a brilliant drive from Sam Bradley to come all the way through from the back of the grid for NXTGEN Green. Well done to him. Now it's Jonathan Collins, 23rd, just behind by 3 tenths at line for WSS Racing, ahead of Sam Vanals, with Russell Fowler completing the top 25, then Matthew Addy finishing at 26th. No, that wasn't the result that was expected. He was looking to be on the Prime podium, but still there's one more race to go today and anything can happen. Ahead of Alexander Paulik, Alan McCain, Kieran Smart and Craig Tillerson. And outside that top 30 to complete the finishing positions, what was a lap down there to Yaroslav Sabula after the opening lap incidents. Jamie Dory 2 laps down, 6 laps down to Matthew Jordan, and unfortunately a retirement for Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport. So 34 starters, and in the end 33 finishers, of which 30 on the lead lap. Well, that was race number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and we've still got more to come, of course, because we've got race 3 on our schedule coming up in due course. But of course, there is one big question that we need to answer, a part of what is this build up to race number 3, and that question is, where are we going to reverse the grid from? Well, without further ado, as we do get set to make our way into what will be the commentary booth, and well, we do so here, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to you all, and I hope you're all doing well and having a great time so far tuning into all the racing action. What we do, of course, have what is our lottery bowl here with the numbers, what is 6 through to 12 in it, and very shortly what I'm going to do is close my eyes and draw one ball out the bowl, and that is where we're going to reverse our grid from for the purposes of our final race of the day. So without further ado, let's get to it. We do the shuffle. Now we draw the ball out the bowl. The last time it was the number 10, and Jamie Dory was the man to benefit from it. But today, it is going to be the number 8. So William Guthrie benefits from an 8th place finish to take pole position in the final race of the day. And that squabble for 8th place, well, in the end, it definitely paid dividends. Albeit a bit of a dark cloud over that battle between himself, Andrew Pike and Gavin Garner. But he will be your reverse grid pole sitter for the final race of the day. And joining on that front row of the grid will be none other than Alex Meredith. And that is going to be a spicy front row to take us into another 24 laps of racing. So we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, in approximately what will be about 10 minutes time for race number 3. But until then, we will leave you with the words from our title sponsor for this season, and that is Doble Motorcycles. We will see you again in due course. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final race of the day here for race 3 of 3 in round number 2 of season 9 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles. And you are here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit in the orange lobby for what is expected to be an absolutely brilliant conclusion to the second round of the championship. Race number 1 saw some absolutely fantastic action, and race number 2, sorry, absolutely amplified. So what can race number 3 be expected to deliver? Well, the short answer is plenty more uncertainty with a top 8 reverse grid, and this is the man who benefits from it all. William Guthrie, who's managed to sneak his way into what will be that reverse grid pole position in the company of Alex Meredith alongside him after what was a hotly contested run to the 8th place spot between himself, Gavin Gardner and Andrew Pike. Well, now he'll be expected to try and take that place and run away with it with a limited amount of weight in the car as well, and it could be the perfect recipe. But you could understand and be forgiven for thinking that other drivers will be very keen to take it off him as well. None more so than Alex Meredith there, who shows a very inventive way of making his way through Paddock Hill Bend, and won't want to be doing that in the race, no doubt about it. But as all the drivers get themselves set and are ready to go one more time, Wojciech Swiderch deciding to park up there on the inside of what is turns 4 and 5. Well, can we get a quick word with any other drivers before we do go racing one more time? That's a big question, and let's see if we can get an answer to that or not, as we do try to get a patch through with one or two of our drivers and give us a brief moment, ladies and gents. We might be able to, and in fact I think we are going to see if we can get a word with what is Sam Bradley and his performance in what was race number 2 and his first podium of the season in the AM class, and let's get a quick patch through to him. Sam, can we have a quick chat with you?
Yeah, no problem.
Sam, an absolutely brilliant run in what was race number 2, taking your first AM podium of the season, having started from the back. That was an exciting race for you.
Yeah, it's been hard, obviously, having no time to practice. So now that I've had to rush home and get on the rig and actually get on for some time on the track, I'm struggling, but I'm hoping it'll soon come back.
Well, something tells me, even though you might be struggling a little bit, you've probably got as big a grin as your SpongeBob helmet in the car there. So what can we expect from you in race 3?
Just full sends now. Might as well see how it turns out.
Well, absolutely fair. We wish you the best of luck for the final race of the day, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Thank you very much, speak to you soon.
They're hearing from Sam Bradley, who gets himself set and ready to go, and I do love that helmet, no doubt about it there. That puts a big smile on my face, I think, to anybody's face, and that's what it's all about. And I wonder if we can get a quick word with one of our other drivers, perhaps in the Pro-Am class. Can we get a word with what would be Russell Fowler? I don't think so. I don't think he's available for comment, unfortunately, at the moment. So I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, we might have to park our thoughts there in terms of what is grabbing a word or two of our drivers, but hearing there from Sam Bradley in the AM class. And well, from that, we're now all set to go one more time this evening, and with it you can imagine that there's going to be some tension, there's going to be some excitement, but in all of it there's also going to be some classic touring car racing with only 30 seconds left on the clock before we do make our way to the grid for the final time today. And well, the crowd has come over, but no rain in the end, that very low risk of rain not materialising, and well, that's great to see, because at the end of the day we do sometimes love to have completely dry conditions, and well, we'll see mixed conditions throughout the entirety of the season, because of course the weather is done based on the real life weather on the day of the race, taken from AccuWeather service, I do believe, and therefore that means that really it all comes down to dealing with the conditions as they arise. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, the clock strikes 10 minutes, practice is over, it's time for race number 3 and to see who is going to be the one to take victory. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as our drivers make the way onto the grid for the final time today, this is how they'll line up for race number 3 at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit in round number 2 of the NXTCC Season 9. It's William Guthrie who lines up on top 8 reverse grid pole for Full Tilt V Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport. He'll be joined on that front row of the grid by Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN. That's going to be a run to turn 1 you won't want to miss. In what is the second row of the grid, we'll have Conrad Kula, who starts 3rd place, and we're looking to make it a triplet of Pro-Am victories today for World of Racing with STR Motorsports. But to do so, he's got to negotiate the company of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who'll be trying to prevent him from taking an overall podium with it. Mikey Doble starts 5th place, and the consistency being rewarded here for the number 1 driver, no doubt about it. And he'll be in the company of Adam Delmont for NXTGEN Green. He'll be looking to make it a 3rd podium in the row. We'll win in race 1, a 3rd in race 2. Can he make it perhaps a 2nd in race number 3 to make it 1 step on every part of the podium? Or will he go for victory or 3rd place? We'll have to see. But behind him, Luciano Witvoet, the World of Racing STR Motorsports driver from the Netherlands. He'll be very eager to make a big impression early on. He's done so already in races 1 and 2, but can he do it more in this final race of the day? Because if he's not able to, Semper Racing's Wojciech, we took victory in race number 2. Can he take victory in race number 3? Andrew Pyatt for the Sim Racing Collective Esports starts 9th, having just missed out on that reverse grid pole position, but still, from 9th he can make a lot of damage, as can Joe Doble starting 10th for Doble Sim Racing. Then on row at number 6, it's none other than Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of your 2nd place Prime starter of Lewis Delmont for NXTGEN Green. And then NXTGEN Pink's Lee Horn lines up 13th, ahead of Track Scotland's Stuart Wyniss. And from the Scotsman to the Englishman of Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Pink, well, race number 1 went well. Bad luck happened at the end of race number 2. Now, can he get things back on the right path come the end of race number 3? That's going to be the challenge for him. And with him is Michael Lees, who in the end took 4th place in the Prime class in the previous race. Can he get himself back onto the Prime podium come the end of this one? And Duncan Moraes lines up 17th, his best starting position of the races today for Goldwyn Motorsports, and the South African driver will be joined by the Briton of Ben Gregory for Full Tilt V Motorsport with Boosted Motorsports, and it'll be your top 20 completed by your AM pole sitter of Mark Sykes for WSS Racing and Reese Watt for JWM Motorsport. Behind them, it is going to be starting 21st, the combination of your 2nd place AM sitter of Verano Esports' Marcel Fridge, and in the company of the man we spoke to only months ago who said it's going to be full sends all the way in race number 3, NXTGEN Green's Sam Bradley. Jonathan Collins lines up behind them, 4th place in AM class for WSS Racing, ahead of Sam Vernos for Goldwyn Motorsports. Russell Fowler lines up 25th Verano Esports, ahead of Matthew Addy for WSS Racing, who will now know it's all or nothing in this final race of the day. Alexander Paulitt was starting 27th for World of Racing for STR Motorsports, the German in the company of Alan McCain, I should say there, as I get my Alex's and Alans mixed up for Iris Esports, and it'll be Kieran Smart for Track Scotland and Craig Tillerson for Verano Esports alongside. Behind them, on the 16th row of the grid, it'll be Yaroslav Savila for Semper Racing and Jamie Doy for NXTGEN Pink. 2 teammates previously in Season 8, but now rivals, but both having a difficult race too, and have got it all out there to recover. And then it's going to be Matthew Jordan for NXTGEN Pink and Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport Boosted Motorsports, completing your field of 34 starters. Sam Smith, unfortunately, not in this grid due to technical issues in race number 2, and those have carried forward into race number 3. But with that, 34 out of the 35 drivers here to stay in what is race 3 of the day. William Guthrie lines up on pole. To the right of him is Alex Meredith, and as the lights go on for the final time, the engines roar high here at Brands Hatch Indy, and it's going to be lights out and away we go here, as it's the battle of the Honda versus the Hyundai as they come down towards turn 1. Guthrie gets the good start, but Alex Meredith now on the attack as they make the way into the braking zone, but Guthrie does exactly what he needs to as Conrad Kula. Meanwhile, at the inside of Isaac Doble, the battle for 3rd rages its way up towards Stuart Hairpin, and as they all make the way staggering into the first time today, well, it's going to be Luciano Witvoet there looking around the outside of Wojciech Swierdijk, with Swierdijk up the inside of him, in fact, further on back there as we see the prime field, and then your AM leader Mark Sykes making the way on down, well, the whole field safely on through the opening couple of quarters. It's a cleaner start to this race this time, albeit as they make the way into the braking zone. We do see there Matthew Jordan, they're tucking in behind as we've got a couple of cars off, but they have rejoined safely, and the field now comes towards the end of the opening lap, but as it does, William Guthrie there still keeping Alex Meredith behind as they come on through to complete lap number 1 of 24 and making their way around. Well, right now it's going to be an absolute charge all the way onto lap 2, because Guthrie leads ahead of Meredith, followed by Isaac Doble. Then it's Kula in 4th, your prime leader, ahead of Mikey Doble in 5th. Wojciech Swierdijk in 6th here as he's under pressure from Witvoet, and what is Delmont? Delmont up the inside here, trying to take 7th place. There's a tap to the side of what is the World of Racing Audi. It goes sideways into the gravel, but does rejoin, and Delmont immediately has to go defensive as everyone tries to nip it in the bud, and as they make the way through Druids, well, it's going to be Delmont there trying to stay ahead of Andrew Pyatt as they go side by side down the hill and in towards turn number 3, and well, Delmont does get back ahead of Andrew Pyatt, with Joe Doble now looking to go onto the inside here, and it'll be Tom Davidson in 10th ahead of Lewis Delmont. But as they come in 3 wide into turn number 4, you don't normally see that. You can tip that one off your bingo card as they make the way in towards turn number 5, and well, that is going to be Adam Delmont getting back ahead there and firmly shutting the door on his rivals. We ride on board and look back from the rear, and you can see there where it's been
Pike and Doble have tripped over each other on the exit of clearways, and as they make the way onto the start-finish straight, it's going to be Pike who gets ahead there as the Veloster seems to stagger up the run. But as they head in towards Paddock Hill Bend for the third time asking this race, there's still more to come, as that is going to be Joe Doble being elbowed out wide there by Davidson, you can now see on the left-hand side of your picture. But as they make the way through the corner, whilst all this is happening, Alex Meredith has made his way into lead this race. He's found his way past where's William Guthrie, and now comes Isaac Doble looking around the outside. We'll have to get a replay of how Meredith made that pass in due course, but as they make the way on through, well, right now William Guthrie under huge pressure from Isaac Doble. We thought Guthrie might be able to put a plug in what is the sink of places, but right now the plug's been removed, and here comes Isaac Doble at the inside, squeezing his way there as Guthrie just gives him the space to breathe, and Isaac Doble up into second place. So William Guthrie struggling a little bit at the moment here, and I think trying to settle down into this race, but he's not being allowed to do so. And Conrad Kula queuing up behind as they make the way up the rise, but as they head in towards turn number 1, or further back, this is going to be almost 3 wide here between what is Mark Sykes, Matthew, Addy, Samuels and Reese Watt. In fact, 4 wide there as I revise my maths, and as they come on in, it's 2 by 2 now as they enter the braking zone, and Sykes backs out completely, but in doing so, opens things up to Sam Bradley, who's made his way into second place in the AM class. Looking up the inside goes Sam, and as he does so, onto the brakes here. Well, Mark Sykes right now, no, it's there, but he's going to go very deep. Bradley still on the inside, but now puts himself on the outside, coming down into what will be Graham Hill Bend. In towards the left-hand they go, and Sykes going absolutely defensive here. As that tuck up the inside, there's contact between Sabula and Bradley. Turns him sideways. Sabula backs off the throttle to let Bradley recover, but the damage is done, and Sam Bradley still holds on to second in AM, but now he's got 4 cars between himself and Sykes. Made that 5 almost as Ben Trier tries to go through, make contact, and it's going to be Sam Bradley turn to the barrier. All goes wrong, and very quickly it was all going right. It's gone backwards. He's going to get himself back in the hunt as quickly as he can, but he's put to the back of the field, and as he does so, brings it back together. Wojciech Swierdajczyk right now on the inside of Conrad Kula, making an earnest pass there up into 5th. Well, right now Kula falling down the order, but trying to hold on to overall places to pick up points and deny his rivals points in the team's championship, and trying to give every opportunity to his teammate Luciano Witvoet and to make progress in what is the rear of this order. You can see him there in 10th place at the moment. But as they come in towards what will be at turn number 3, once again, we take a look back at how Alex Meredith took the leaders race of William Guthrie, and this was on lap number 3. And as they made the way out of what was Paddock Hill Bend, Guthrie had a slow run, but in the end, Meredith getting to the inside, onto the brakes into Druids, and that's how it's done, as he made his way on through there. A bit of rubbing, but still, between these touring cars, that's to be expected, and Alex Meredith absolutely nailed that run, and Isaac Doble in the end almost trying to follow him through. But as we do return to what is your live racing, and as they make the way on around, well, Meredith right now, despite that move, has now got the pressure of Isaac Doble coming on through, as Doble did make that move on what was Guthrie later on in the lab, and now Isaac Doble absolutely fancies his chances here, but William Guthrie says, well, if you're going to leave the door open, expect me to put my foot in it, and he does so, but they'll go 2 wide now down to Graham Hill Bend. Isaac Doble goes defensive there, as they come through left hand, no change between them, apart from the fact they open up a gap to Alex Meredith for what is 7/10 of a second, and that'll feel like a lifetime as they make the way on upwards. But as they come on through, well, meanwhile, there's plenty of battling going on in what is the AM class as well. Jonathan Collins all over the back of Matthew Jordan as they head in towards turn number 3, as we do say hello to what is MOP Jabril in the Twitch chat there, enjoying the racing by the looks of things, and as they all come through, we also say hello to Drisk MP3, who's cheering on Matthew Jordan, and Jordan under a bit of pressure to keep Collins behind, but also Craig Tillison holding on to 3rd place in the AM class and looking to bring home his first AM podium of the season as they come out of what is the final corner. That's a lot of gravel being run across the circuit, and that is a rejoining Marcel Fritsch, who's taken a bit of a rallycross line. In fact, that's Yaroslav Sabula, let me correct myself, and Sabula rejoins to the pro driver in the Audi RS3 for Semper Racing that you saw go through the camera shot only moments ago, so he's having a bit of a nightmare day to the race, even more so, and right now no change between our AM drivers as Reese Watts ended up in the barrier, I believe, or sideways. What on earth is happening to Reese Watt? That's not normal, and well, he's pointing the wrong way as Sabula goes off again. I think both drivers have got a lot of damage to their cars of some description. Sabula struggling, and Tillison right now, we get a breather as Matthew Jordan tries to go around the outside of Sabula, but in the end has to take the long trip around the outside. It's not working out, but as they make the way in towards what we turn for, Jordan decides to go all in here, outside to inside. Sabula in the end gives him the space to breathe, and Matthew Jordan trying to make the point here, which is just let me go racing, as Sabula struggles to keep the car pointing in a straight line. But as they make the way out to turn number 5, from them we look all the way back to the front of the field, and Alex Meredith right now still leading this race in a comfortable margin. Conrad Kula has got Adam Delman up his inside, as that is Delman making the pass into Druids Bend up into 6th place now, and Kula fighting back against him here in towards what will be Graham Hill, and as they come for a left-hander, Delman's going to hold that outside line and seal the distance and seal the position as they roar their way in towards turn 4. But as they do, let's take a look back at what happened to Reese Watt on lap number 7 only moments ago, and this instant for Reese Watt over the crest in towards Paddock Hill Bend, loses the rear of the car, goes completely sideways, ends
ends up in the gravel, and it unsettles the car, and in the end he snatches it one way, then the other to avoid contact with other drivers, and sacrifices his race for the greater good of everyone else, but unfortunately hits the barrier there. So you've got to feel for Witvoet. He's trying to do the right thing, and it all ended up going the wrong way. But as we do come back to what is the live racing, this is Adam Delmont making his way on through, and right now looking to be in a very happy position is Adam Delmont as he roars his way through the corners, but as he makes his way on around there and onward towards the next braking zone, when we do look there towards Stuart Wyness, as there's a bit of a moment. Benjamin Gregory sent sideways there, and Gregory won't be too happy about that if he was escorted off the road. And as they make the way on down, that's going to now enable Matthew Addy to get ahead of him up into what is 6th place in the Pro class, and Ben Gregory drops from 4th in the what is the Pro class, all the way down to 7th there, all the way down to 18th place, but still's got opportunities to try and pick off later on in the day, as the fighting definitely getting very tense and terse here between all of our drivers. But as it does so, Ben Altria meanwhile giving way to what is both Matthew Jordan and Jonathan Collins as they continue their fight for 3rd place in the AM class as they come in towards what will be turn number 5, making their way through the right-hander. Altria meanwhile having to park the car up, I do believe, and tow it to the pit lane. But as Collins here trying to give chase on Jordan, this is the fight for what is 4th in the AM class, with Craig Tillotson being 2 seconds up the road, but they've got a clear run to Tillotson now. Has recently been passed by Javso Sabula, so therefore they'll feel as though the target's in sight, but first they've got to get over their own little squabble. As you can see, Collins here trying to get a good run through Paddock Hill Bend, ends up going quite deep, as does Jordan, both of them pushing it to the limit, and these AM drivers enjoying an absolutely brilliant whistle-stop tour of battling at Brands Hatch Indy, and this is what we love to see as they come out of Druids Bend. But as they make the way through, no change at the moment, but good to see them given the pursuit, and we'll keep you apprised of that battle as it does unfold. And in fact, Jordan, they're taking liberties going out that wide. I think he will be under investigation for that one and pick up a warning if he hasn't already done so. And well, as he rejoins, well, meanwhile, we look a little bit further up the order into the Pro-Am class. And this is your 4th place Pro-Am runner of what is Duncan Moraes, who's got Stuart Wyness right behind him. Only 1.5 seconds up the road from them is Michael Leash, your 3rd place Pro-Am runner, who's taking a bit of gravel with him as they head up towards Druids Bend. Wyness thinks about it, but decides not to go for it in the Elantra, knowing that the Honda Civic Type R has got the stronger brakes by comparison by a small margin. And as they come down in towards turn number 3, well, they stay as they were. But from them, it's almost 3 wide as they make the way on to turn number 4, and that's Gavin Gardner up the inside of Tom Davidson with Joe Doble right behind. Doble looking up the inside there, sneaks his way out the inside. It's a very, very late lunge, but absolutely nails it under braking, does Doble, and therefore that moves him up into 11th place, as behind him Davidson and Delmont queue up, and Lewis Delmont right now, he's a pro and battling with all these pros. But meanwhile in the foreground of the camera, Conrad Kula, a little bit of contact there between himself and Andrew Pike, as Pike up the inside. Oh goodness me, another tap between the two of them, and Luciano Witvoet now at the inside, but Witvoet being cut off by Pike as he's going to be sandwiched there by the world of racing machines. And Pike in the end doesn't give in to Kula, but he does lose the position to Witvoet, or does he? As he's run off a road there, and Pike comes back on, and well, you can see Witvoet gives him the space to rejoin. They're door to door, they're banging doors as they make the way out of the corner. Kula decides to back his team out as they make the way in towards turn number 4, and as they come through the left-hander into right now, Pike gets his elbows out, and Whitford's going to be sent sideways there, trying to force the issue as they made their way into turns 4 and 5, and Andrew Pike right now is not a happy bunny behind the wheel of that car, and he is absolutely digging in right now. And this is the Andrew Pike that you don't want to see. It's the what is the equivalent of the Incredible Hulk. You won't want to see him when he's angry, and right now Andrew Pike is absolutely getting his elbows out. But as they make the way on through and over the rise, well, further back, this is causing everybody to queue up now in this long battle. You can see there Michael Lease now only 8 tenths off of the back of it, so this long line of cars is fighting over effectively 7th place as they all come in towards Druids Bend. No change this time around, and with a long pack of cars here at the front of the field, this is Alex Meredith right now just trying to hold off everybody as they make the way in towards what is turns 4 and 5. Isaac Dole right behind them, the 2 youngest members of the grid, or 2 of the youngest members I should say of the grid. Oh, fighting as that is a big hit on the rear of Isaac Dole's car from William Guthrie, and it sends Isaac Dole spinning around. I think that was the concertina effect, how close they were, and I think Guthrie in the end having to carry on knowing that he's got multiple cars behind him, but a big knock there, and that sends Isaac Dole all the way down to 6th place, but he will be able to get it back together, and well, as he does so, he's behind Adam Delmont now, is up into 5th place, and Adam Delmont looking to try and make it what is a triplet of podiums, and well, right now absolutely potentially on course to do so if he can pick up 2 more places, but of course he's got to try and find his way past the likes of Wojciech Swerdowicz and Mikey Doble to do so, and that's much easier said than done as we get a replay of what exactly happened to Isaac Dole and how he was ejected out of position. We look back from the rear of what was, I believe, Isaac Doble's car. Here it is. And William Guthrie coming into the braking zone. And Indian up the inside, taps the side of the car. And I think Guthrie there trying to go in, expecting the door was open, but it wasn't quite. And, well, Indian and Isaac Doble were able to rejoin, but I think he'll be a bit annoyed at that one. But still, there's plenty more racing to come between the pair as they make the way on the start-finish straight. And as they do, well, from Isaac Doble all the way to further down the order, we do come back to what is Jonathan Collins versus Matthew Jordan once again. And Matthew Jordan right now still keeping Collins at bay. A great little scrap between these two. It may be for 27th overall, but for them, it's for a lot of points in the AM class. It's for 4th place in the class, and Jordan holding off Collins by only 2.5 tenths. They make the way out the final corner onto what will be lap number 15 for them. Collins looking one way, looking the other, trying to flash the lights as well to get into his rival's head, but Matthew Jordan will have seen all of that. He's a big touring car fan, and as they make the way in towards turn of 1, he'll know that he's just got to keep Collins at bay as they all make the way on around. But as they head up the rise, no change at the moment. Collins can't find his way in, and really that's been the story so far of what have been the last 6 laps between these two, but he is getting closer. Looking a bit further up the running order in the run to what is the fight for 4th place in the Pro-Am class. Well, this is Duncan Rise leading Stuart Winus and Matthew Addy as they come off of the rise of turn number 5 and onto the start-finish straight. And right now there's nothing between these drivers as they head towards that timeline. And again, over the rise, we see in the foreground, that was Conrad Kula going defensive versus Gavin Gardner in the fight for 8th place. We'll come to that very shortly. In fact, we are going to come to it now as it makes its way up towards Druids. And you can see Kula putting it in the middle of the row, trying to help Witvoet go around the outside of Gardner. And right now, Conrad Kula's got the unlikable task of which is he's trying to help his teammate out whilst also not compromising his own race as Pro-Am leader. Well, the fact he's got a lot of time between himself and the Pro-Am drivers earlier on. Now it's a question of how much time has he got between himself and Pro-Am drivers, because Gavin Gardner goes up his inside into turn 4. That's going to put him on the outside into clear ways for Gardner. So Kula's going to cover it off, and there's Witvoet up the inside as Kula goes deep, and I think that's to give Witvoet every opportunity to come on through, and that's going to cause the whole field now to want to come on through. But the problem here is, if your name's Conrad Kula, is the fact that you've got to look behind and you'll notice that Lewis Delmont and Michael Leese are on the back of this pack, so therefore Kula has not got as much time to play with anymore as Gardner's up the inside again. And Gavin Gardner, after that unfortunate ending to race number 2, is trying to get himself back into the top 10 and further up it. He knows he's got the pace to finish inside the top 5 as they enter the braking zone here for Druids Bend. Up the inside of Kula goes what is there, Joseph Doble. Now Michael Leese is there. In fact, he's got himself there to Lewis Delmont in the background of the camera. Good bit of work there for Michael Leese to do so. Tom Davidson's between the two of them. And right now, as we ride on board here with Michael Leese, you're wondering why the windscreen wiper's on. That's to get all the dirt and chips off of the windscreen. Well, right now, the number 55 driver absolutely attacking here because he knows that right now in front of him, that is Conrad Kula. And Kula, if he doesn't know already, from all the work he's done to help out his teammate Witvoet in the Pro class, what he's also done is now enabled the Pro-Am class to get right on the back of him, and we have got a three-way fight for Pro-Am victory here, where it was a much easier run for Conrad Kula in races 1 and 2, but right now it's anything but easy in this final race of the day. Not that he'll mind it, to be fair, as there's been an instant further up the road. We had William Guthrie having off track and rejoin in what is 6th place, but here we go for Michael Leese, looking around the outside in towards Druids Bend, but a lot of gravel there, and that gravel's going to make it very difficult to go around the outside. You can see all the stone chips bouncing around as they come on down. Davidson as well getting very close there, almost pointing the car towards the apex. A bit of run wide there from Joe Doble. He'll get away with 1 or 2 of those, but not all of them, depending on how many warnings he's on. But Leese now having to cover off Davidson, who's looking around the outside to the inside as they head up towards turn number 5, but no change there. And Davidson making Michael Leese look backwards rather than forwards. And Leese at this point will be, I think, trying to mutter under his breath, let me focus on chasing down Kula. I think Davidson's got other ideas as they all battle for what is top 10 finishing positions. But as they make the way up the rise, well, we have had William Guthrie drop down to 6th place, but the question is, how exactly did that happen? And here is the replay to explain, ladies and gentlemen, what happened to William Guthrie only moments ago. And, well, this was into Paddock Hill Bend, and as he made his way in, a bit of dive to the inside there from number 1 of Mikey Doe, taps the rear quarter panel of William Guthrie's car. It goes sideways into the gravel, and Guthrie in the end has to take the long way to rejoin the racing line, and that's how it happens. And to be fair, mistakes like that can be very easily made in a battle between drivers. They're all absolutely attacking it, but right now Wojciech Swierdowicz, oh goodness me, as that's getting very, very nasty there between Swierdowicz, Doble, as in Mikey Doe, and Adam Delmont, with Isaac Doble coming back on through. It's all gloves are off here. I'm not quite sure if there's a bit of context as to what happened there. I suspect there might be a bit of context from a bit earlier on. We'll have to see, but right now it means Mikey Doble's missed the front bumper. Adam Delmont is in 3rd, and Wojciech Swierdowicz dropped behind Isaac Doble to 5th. William Guthrie is up into 6th as they all make the way in towards the braking zone here for Druids Bend, and as they make the way through, I think we do have a bit of context to explain what exactly happened there. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's the explainer as to what happened between Wojciech Swierdijk and Mikey Doble earlier in that lap, and this triggered it off. So it was Swierdijk on the attack here as Doble looked around the outside into Druids Bend. Swierdijk went all on the inside as they made the way through, and well, I think Doble trying to get back at the position there as they made the way down in towards Graham Hill Bend, looked to the inside, Swierdijk closed it off with door-to-door rubbing there as they made the way through the corner, and that's how it all started. Then it was Adam Delmont making it 3 wide between them as they made the way on the backstretch in towards turn number 4, and Mikey Doble looked one way as we can see a bit of contact between Delmont and Swierdijk, missed his braking zone slightly, went all in and hit the rear of Swierdijk's car. Very easy to do given he was unsighted, and then Isaac Doble just piling into the scene of the incident. But as they made the way on through, we'll roaring the way on down in towards what will be turn number 3. See some interpretations there from a number of you in what is the YouTube chat, including D Delta, who we say hello to for the first time this evening. I hope you're doing well, D Delta. Well, right now, whatever's happened there, I'm sure the stewards will take a look at it if it's felt as though it needs to be taken a look at. But in the meantime, they'll keep their heads on and carry on with the racing. And as they do, well, there's still more to come. Michael Lees, well, he's still got Davidson behind him, but he wants to try and chase after Conrad Kula. Kula is only 3 attempts up the road from him, but the problem is that right now is Davidson actually going to let him focus on attacking the guy in front? And the answer may be no, all things considered. And meanwhile, in the AM class, Mark Sykes is your class leader by 5 seconds over Marcel Fridge. In the battle between Matthew Jordan and Jonathan Collins, it's still Matthew Jordan holding on to 4th place in AM in what is 27th overall as Alan McCain makes his way down pit row, and I believe that's for quick repair work on the car. But we've only a couple of laps left here in this race, 1 lap 22.24, so this one plus 2 more. More right now, Mikey Doble really trying to hold on to 2nd place in a wounded car, and what Alex Meredith being allowed to gradually walk off with this race into the distance, and what Delmont in 3rd place. He's going to make it 3 podiums in a row today, and well, can he potentially get to 2nd place and therefore claim a seat on every podium spot over the course of 3 races? That's always a wonderful accolade to do as they come over the rise of 5 and in towards what will be the penultimate lap. We will see here as Adam Delmont looks to go on the charge, riding on board then with the number 37, and Adam Delmont really has been a beast of his own making today with that pole position up, that winning race 1, 3rd in race number 2. And what can he do here? Race number 3 as he taps the rear of Doble's car, it sends the car sideways, and as he makes his way out the rise, well, right now there's going to be Isaac Doble looking up the inside, so Delmont there with a brief bit of contact on the rear of Mikey's car, sees Isaac make his way into position, and that's going to open up the whole waterfall of places here that comes pouring on down with Swierdijk trying to go around the outside. It's not easy to go around the outside of Graham Hill Bend, but Swierdijk is going to try it, and Delmont gives Swierdijk the space to try and go for it. Here comes William Guthrie. Can Guthrie make it 3 wide? No, he decides against it. Discretion is the better part of valour, as they say, and as they come in towards turn number 5, well, right now Adam Delmont's discretion, he's not giving up on this battle around the outside, and Delmont is absolutely going to fight every corner as he makes his way through there now with the 2 double sim racer machines tearing off into the distance for 2nd and 3rd, while Alex Meredith makes his way through the foreground of the camera shot. But right now the focus is very truly on what is the fight for full as Adam Delmont tries to go around the outside of Swierdijk all the way on through, and whilst he may not be a champion right now, Adam Delmont is putting on a champion's performance, no doubt about it, as they head on the break in here into Druids Bend. Isaac Doble meanwhile over the back of Mikey Doble. I wonder if there's going to be a swap of places before this is all said and done. William Guthrie now trying to take on Delmont in towards Graham Hill, with Delmont losing momentum coming out of Druids hairpin. Isn't to work there as they roar the way on out, and as they come in towards turn number 4, well, right now all there between all 5 drivers, no change at the moment. But one thing that definitely has changed is we're going to see a new name on top of the pile, because he makes his way through the final corner. How long's it been since we said that Alex Meredith has taken an overall win? It's been a long time, but here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, and Alex Meredith takes victory in race number 3 of the day. In second it'll be Mikey Doble ahead of Isaac Doble to round off the podium. Wojciech Swierdijk fends off Adam Delmont for 4th, William Guthrie 6th ahead of Andrew Pite, Luciano Witvoet, Gavin Gardner, and it will be Conrad Kulu who makes it 3 prime wins in a row today, claiming all 3 victories ahead of Joseph Doble best of best, Tom Davison 12th, Michael Lees finishes runner-up in the prime class ahead of Lewis Delmont, who's just behind him. And then it'll be in the AM class, Mark Sykes, who makes it 3 AM wins back-to-back ahead of what is Marcel Fritsch, who takes 24th overall, but 2nd place on the road in the AM class. Craig Tillison comes on through for his first AM podium of the season. Congratulations to the Rhino Esports driver. And Matthew Jordan takes 4th in the AM class, fend off Jonathan Collins, who kept him honest for the best part of what was 17 laps of racing. Well, what a race from all of our drivers up and down the field, and in the end Alex Meredith will be absolutely ecstatic to take what will be his first win of the season overall. And what a professional performance from the number 19 driver. And as Mikey Doble and Isaac Doble are surrounding there down the pit lane, that will be your top 3 podium overall. And what a race to wrap up proceedings here. And Conrad Kula sacrificing a good chunk of his race to enable Luciano Witvoet to potentially jump into the podium places. Well, what a sacrifice he did make. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are for race 3 of 3. And as we can see, Alex Meredith there, your eyes do not deceive you. The Whiskey Runners racing with next-gen driver back on top there to take what I believe is his 3rd overall victory in his NXTCC career, unless I'm mistaken. And well, the number 19 driver taking that victory over the number 1 of Mikey Doble, who in the end led home a 2-3 for Doble Sim Racing ahead of brother Isaac Doble. Wojciech Swierdajc, 4th there for Semper Racing, and what a drive from him as well. Just missing out on the podium, but still an absolute lion's share of the points. Adam Delmont couldn't quite make it 3 podiums in a row, but will settle for a 5th place finish for NXTGEN Green and really has been the king of Brands Hatch today, ahead of William Guthrie at their 6th place for Full Tilby Motorsport with Boosted Motorsport, and then Andrew Pike in 7th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, having to get his elbows out in what was this final race of the day, but credit where it's due to the Briton, absolutely showing a stoic defensive drive in the 57. Luciano Witvoet finishing 8th there for the World of Racing at STR Motorsports Audi. Not quite the race he wanted to end the day on, but still, he'll be happy with the progress that was made. Gavin Garner as well, making his way back into the top 10 at 9th place finish for the next-gen Pink driver. And if only race number 2 hadn't gone the way it had, where could he have been in race number 3? Could we have seen him return to the top step after a long hiatus? Well, still, we'll never know that, but what we do know for certain is that Conrad Kula is a 3-time Prime winner at Brands Hatch, and means now he's taken 4 wins this season out of 6, with that 10th place finish overall for World of Racing at STR Motorsports. And then best of rest in the length was Joseph Doble for Doble Sim Racing, head of Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, who finished 12th. 13th went the way of your prime runner-up of Michael Lees for JWM Motorsport, head of Lewis Delmont, who was your 3rd place finish for NXTGEN Green. The number 23 driver there, just holding off Duncan Ray's charge, who took what was 4th place in the Prime class for Goldwyn Motorsports, and what a drive from Duncan Race as well, given how it all started, when in finishing just off of the podium place in the Prime class. He won't be too upset about that. Stuart Winers missing out on the overall top 15 points, but still 16th place there for Track Scotland ahead of Matthew Addy, with Kieran Smart, Jamie Dory and Yaroslav Sabula complete in the top 20, and outside the top 20 in what is 21st, Sam Van Olst, and behind the Goldwyn Motorsports driver, your AM winner, 3 wins on the bounce, Mark Sykes there for WSS Racing here at Brands Hatch. Benjamin Gregory was 23rd, and then in 2nd place in the AM class, Marcel Fritsch for Verano Esports, making it a trio of 2nd place finishes there. And the best way to keep your rival honest is to finish directly behind them. That's exactly what Marcel Fritsch did. But he led home a 2-3 in the AM class, with Craig Tillerson there returning to the podium after a long hiatus, and well done to the 34 driver. And then it was a further 4 seconds back, Matthew Jordan versus Jonathan Collins, with Matthew Jordan coming out on top for 4th place in AM for NXTGEN Pink, ahead of the WSS Racing Veloster of Collins. Alan McCain, Russell Fallon and Sam Bradley completed your top 30. Commiserations to Sam Bradley, a lap down the end on what pace he had. He could have been going for the AM victory, no doubt about it. But of course, this will just be a small speed bump on his championship campaign, and he'll look to try and show that when we return to the race in a couple of weeks' time. And we also did see a lap down there for Lee Horn, and then commiserations and retirements for Ben Altrier, Reese Watt and Alexander Paulig. 34 starters, and in the end, a grand total of 31 finishers, of which 29 were on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. And what a race to wrap up proceedings and to wrap up round number 2 of the championship in season 9 of the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship, is brought to you on iRacing, powered by Doble Motorcycles here in the Orange Lobby. Was the circuit full silent? Of course, we're not going to quite full silent just yet, because we still do have the big question of post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers, and we'll be back for those in approximately 10 minutes time, ladies and gentlemen, so don't go anywhere. We will be back for those interviews, and it'll be great to hear the thoughts of our drivers up and down the grid. We will see you shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And we've got 3 brilliant candidates today, 2 pros and 1 pro-am. And we're going to be hearing from some drivers who have absolutely delivered on the big stage today. Starting off with none other than Alex Meredith, your winner in what was race number 3 overall, and taking top 10s all across the board. We'll then be hearing from Adam Delmont, who really has proven himself to be the king of Brands Hatch today. And we'll also be hearing from our prime driver, Michael Lees, who didn't take a class win, but took 2 second-place finishes and a 4th, and also what was that pole position in the qualifying for the class. But let's start off then with Alex Meredith. He joins me now, ladies and gentlemen. And Alex, firstly, congratulations to you for taking another overall win. You haven't had many in your NXTCC career, but everyone certainly feels special, and something tells me this one is going to feel even more special than the previous ones.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. I was just expecting quite a relaxed night tonight, just, going around kind of bottom of the top 10, 8th to 10th, just chilling. And then, race 3 happened. So much pressure from so many different drivers, all of a really, really high caliber, and it was just about defending that inside the whole race, and my tyres were crying out for mercy the last couple of laps.
Oh, goodness me. It will definitely an absolutely incredible race to wrap up the day. But of course, before we get to the end of the story, we've got to start at the beginning of it. And let's talk a little bit about coming into this round. Of course, in the Hyundai Veloster, you've normally gone with the Elantra, but you're going with the Veloster for this season. I have to ask firstly, why the switch?
I think I was just getting a little bit stagnated in terms of pace and even enjoyment in the Elantra. There are a couple of things that I wasn't happy with in it, and into Bathurst I was really struggling for pace last season, and I switched to the Veloster kind of midweek and immediately just gained so much time, and I was like, yeah, I'm sticking with this now because this just has so much more of what I want in a race car. So yeah, it's been pretty handy for me so far, so I'm going to keep going, see what I can do.
Well, it makes sense, and that switch has definitely served you well, particularly what we've seen today. And talking about qualifying, 9th place on the grid, 7th out of the pro drivers. I mean, it was always going to be tight at Brands Hatch Indy, and we saw what was in the end the top, I believe, 30 separated by less than half a second. But to put yourself in the top 10, you must have been pretty happy in that qualifying session.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. There are a few corners and things that I could have improved, but everybody has those, so I can't really complain, considering, the gap was half a second between the top 30. Yeah, it was just a pretty solid qualifying, nothing special, but, got up there and allowed me to kind of be in the reverse grid draw, which would help me out eventually.
Oh, goodness me. Well, you say nothing special, but we got to see some special racing for yourself in race 1. You only gained 1 place, but finished 8th in the end. But it looked as though in race number 1, I think it was really the story of the day in all of the races, as we see you making your pass on screen on William Guthrie for the lead of race 3. But for every place you gained in race 1, it was almost a risk of losing 1 or 2 in return because everyone was so close together.
Exactly. And it was something that I learned through the night, that as soon as you kind of go for a move, you've got to be absolutely certain that it's going to pull off, because if it doesn't, you're going to be losing 2 places because you're going to be off the line. So yeah, it was just about kind of learning that in the first race, and I got behind Mikey, and just followed him round because I wanted to conserve my tyres a lot, because this track was really, really tough on tyres. So yeah, I just sat behind him, looking for a move here and there, but I was just going to take a P8, good points, not be too crazy about it, and just go on to race 2.
And then speaking of going on to race number 2, again, another one of those races whereby a little bit of weight in the car compared to coming into the round. 7th place finish in the end, and it looked as though it was more scrappy battling between yourself and those around you.
Yeah, definitely. Race 2, I kind of learned what the car wanted and what the tyres wanted. I felt I could push a little bit more. And so, yeah, I had a couple of battles on the first couple of laps, and then it kind of evened out. And then I was behind Gavin Gardiner, and I was stuck behind him for quite a while. He did a really good job defending. And I knew where he was slower, so I just kind of sent it into the last corner nudged him out a little bit and managed to gain the place. So that was a pretty satisfying move, if I must say so myself.
Oh, indeed. A bit of a classic touring car move, no doubt about that. A little bit of pressure and a little bit of application of door-to-door. Nothing wrong with that. And, well, because of that 7th place finish, it meant you'd start 2nd place on the grid for race number 3. And going into it, of course, we see that anybody who starts on the outside line either has a lightning start, alternatively has to try and fight their way around the outside. But for yourself, a bit of a slow start to race number 3. It looked as though you were building yourself up to try and make that move for the lead.
Yeah, essentially, my game plan was not to win that last race because I just didn't really think it was possible. You know, I've just come into this car at a track I wasn't too comfortable with, so, you know, I wasn't really expecting it. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll just sit behind Will, for a bit, and just kind of followed him. And then I thought, you know what, do I want this win? Yeah, I want this win. So then I started really pushing. I think you might have seen the sort of dive I made at lap 2 that failed. I was just trying to put some pressure on him, and then it kind of worked because at start of lap 3 he went a little bit wide, and I just took the opportunity with both hands and just sailed on through.
Well, indeed, an absolutely brilliant opportunity to take, no doubt about it, and we saw that move to take into lead. And you open up a bit of a gap at first, but suddenly, come about what was lap 11 or 12, you had a whole pack of cars absolutely breathing down your neck, but you weren't going to give in.
Yeah, majority of that gap being closed was just I forgot how to drive. Yeah, just really scrappy couple of laps, and Isaac just caught me up so quickly and consistently. Just was not making any mistakes whatsoever. So there were a couple of times I had to move to the inside at turn 2, and he was just all over me. So I was like, right, I'm just gonna sit on the inside and hope he doesn't come through, and it worked. Unfortunately, he got hit by Will. I'm not too sure what happened there, but what it did do is allow me to make another gap to, I think it was still Will at that point, and then Mikey came along in the last couple of laps and put a lot more pressure on me once he got past Will. He sent it around the outside of Druids, and I did a little touring car shuffle on him and just kind of shouldered him out, and it really helped me that because he was then side by side with Wojek, and they both kind of fought, and then it brought all the rest of the pack with them, and luckily it just kind of let me run away with it a bit, and I just kept building that gap, and I got to kind of 2 laps to the end. I was just like, right, don't make any mistakes. You've done, you know, 9 on 100 laps not making mistakes. Just do not make a mistake now. Thankfully I didn't, and yeah, oh, God, the release of pressure when I crossed the line was absolutely immense.
Oh, I can only imagine how good it felt when you did cross that line to take victory and fly the banner high for Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen. And off the back of that, of course, with a great result to wrap up your run here at Brands Hatch, is that perhaps giving you a little bit more belief now as you go into this season that, in fact, you might be able to raise your targets a little bit higher beyond just coming to terms with the Veloster and spending the season with it?
Possibly. I'm going to be kind of missing a couple of rounds. The next 2 rounds I'll be missing for exams because obviously they'll be primary focus. But once I'm done them, then yeah, I can really start focusing on this more and getting used to the Elantra more, and you know, things like tyre saving, I can get more used to that because every car has a kind of different driving style it wants very slightly for tyre saving. So yeah, that's just going to assist me in getting higher and higher up the grid until hopefully I'm kind of fighting in the top group.
Well, we look forward to seeing you try to move your way up the ranks and be fighting in the top group, like you say, and all the best luck with your exams at the same time as well, because they are important, of course. But just before we do let you go, 2 last questions. Firstly, when we do come back in a couple of weeks' time, it is going to be a visit to none other than what will be the Snetterton 300 circuit. How are you feeling for that trip to Snetterton on the 20th of May?
If I can do it, I quite like Snetterton. But, you know, as I said, it's going to be whether I can do it or not. I'll definitely be back for, you know, halfway through the season. I'd love to do it, but we'll have to see. And yeah, I'd like to thank my parents for watching tonight. They've given me a good amount of support. Obviously, Next Gen for all the administerial roles and kind of the work they put in, because I know it's a lot. And you, Paul, as well, for your consistent, fantastic commentary, and the league would not be the same without your broadcasting of it.
Oh, Alex, I do appreciate it, and we do appreciate your kind words here at the Next Gen Racing admin team. You predicted my question already in terms of if you were to give anybody any thanks live on the broadcast, and a huge shout out, of course, to your mum and dad, John and Catherine, for supporting you week in, week out in everything you do, and I'm sure they're proud of you this evening. But with that, well done once again. A special congratulations to that victory in race number 3, and we look forward to plenty more from yourself when you're back on the grid in a future round of the season.
Thank you, and sorry for predicting the question.
No worries at all. It happens. You know the format by now. You have a
Of
great
course.
evening. Oh, goodness me. It's always great fun to have the number 19 driver in the interview room, Alex Meredith, and hearing from him there what was the fact that really a different style of approach with regards to going into this season, just wanting to get to terms with the Hyundai Veloster and wanting to move away from the Elantra, because he feels as though his progress and his ability is somewhat being stymied by committing to a single car, and that's been shown in the opening 2 rounds, perhaps less so at Donington Park, but definitely here with regards to what is the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. The fact 3 top 10 finishes. Not expecting a victory in race number 3, but then again, that is the mystery of the reverse grid. But the key point being running comfortably inside the top 10 against an absolutely loaded pack of drivers. And this is a new Alex Meredith, I get the feeling. It's a shame he can't commit to the entire season, because I would wonder whether he could put on a top 5 campaign as a minimum. But the rounds he's going to be in, he's going to give it his all. And whether he carries on like he did today, then something tells me, you know what, he could be more than a one-time winner this season. And, well, that Veloster is going very well in his hands. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come on to our second interview of the day, and we're going to be hearing from Adam Delmont, who gets ready to join me in the interview room. And in fact, he is ready to join me, and here he comes as he does so. And we say good evening to Adam Delmont. And Adam, I mean, as far as titles go, some would call you Mr. Adam Delmont. I'm going to call you Mr. the King of Brands Hatch Indy Adam Delmont, for the simple reason you were electric out there today.
Good evening, Paul. Yeah, I thought I'd put on a show, mate.
Oh, well, you most definitely did. I mean, talking us through a couple of things, let's just jump straight into it. That pole lap in qualifying, a lap in the end 900ths faster than the lap set by Michael Lease. 900ths doesn't sound like much anywhere else, but at Brands Hatch, that's a lifetime. I mean, where did it come from?
To be honest, Paul, Brands is a good track for me anyway, and you know we had our practice yesterday, and I was really quick last night, and yeah, I thought I might have dropped a little bit with the weight on tonight, but you know I only had P7 weight, so it's not that bad. But yeah, I just got in a nice rhythm, mate, and you know I've just went for it, and yeah, managed to get the lap together. And to be fair, I've been running quite consistently around here, running very similar laps all night. So yeah, just pushed when I needed to, and managed to keep it all together, keep it calm, collected, and yeah, managed to grab another pole.
Well, another pole position, and then straight away into race number 1, we saw you lead off the line and never look back. There was some early pressure out there, but something was telling me over the course of the race that if you managed to get that gap to a second, you were just never going to be caught over the race distance.
No, I knew myself, you know, I knew it was close, I knew the whole field was close, but again, you know, I know I've been really weirdly super consistent around here for the last 2 days, where, you know, lapping within a tenth pretty much 99% of my laps, and I knew that if I could just get a small gap, I could potentially just, you know, hold them at arm's distance and try and look after my tyres, because Brands is notorious for, you know, really chewing on your front left, and I was carrying, you know, what, half a tank, so a little bit heavier. So yeah, just kept it smooth, mate, kept my tyres where they needed to be, and it allowed me to just keep pushing right to the checkered, which, you know, saw me, you know, they were thereabouts like a wolf pack behind me, mate. If I'd have made a mistake, they'd have been there. So yeah, I just had to make sure I nailed every lap, which thankfully I did.
Oh, 100%, and a very well-earned victory in race number 1. And like you mentioned only moments ago with that qualifying lap, you only had the best part of 16 kilograms of weight in the car, but then we suddenly added another 40 into the car for race number 2. And to give you credit where it's due, a third place finish, but all the way through that race, like you say, it really didn't affect you that much, the weight, did it?
It did towards the end. I started to struggle a little with the tyres towards the end. I'd had to push because the green light caught. I won't lie, mate. The green light caught me out. It went so quick. It genuinely caught me out, and I know I had a delay on it. So Wodge obviously jumped me because he's in the Audi, which gets a really good launch anyway, and I managed to hold off Luciano for as long as I could, but I knew he was going to get me at some point because I was having to push way too hard for the weight I was carrying, and it did start to bite me towards the end. Mikey got on me, and I'm thinking, I was thinking, am I going to be able to hold on to this one? But yeah, I managed to manage it and keep him behind me, and yeah, it wasn't the easiest of jobs, to be fair, but yeah, I'll take another podium is a good result.
Oh, indeed. 2 podiums back-to-back, including 1 win. A great achievement. And in race number 3, there was a long time I think many of us were expecting you were going to make it a 3rd podium, and you wanted a trip to 2nd place because that's what you were fighting for so long. But with all the intense fighting in race number 3, it was a classic touring car elbows-out battle. But you came off slightly worse, but still a top 5.
Yeah, it's still a good result. Yeah, it was a bit elbows out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really enjoyable. It was good fun, but yeah, I just got nudged out the wrong place, and it allowed, once you put on the outside round here, if there's a train of cars, it's very difficult to get back in without losing at least 1 or 2 spots. And when I was really pressuring Mikey and pushing him into mistakes. And I think he started backing me up a little bit into Isaac, and it allowed Isaac just to do a bit of ascend into the hairpin up my inside, which managed to get me there. But that allowed Wodge to get through as well. I mean, I tried to hold on with Wodge, nearly a full lap, pretty much, trying to hang it around the outside. But yeah, I just didn't have the tyres for it. So I settled for 5th, mate. And to me, it's still 3 good results. So another podium would have been nice, though.
Well, like you say, another podium would have been nice, but you have to settle for 5th in what was an absolutely intense final race of the day. But still, a huge set of points from today, and the current prediction is that you've taken one of the biggest scores from this round. The only driver who perhaps scored a little bit more was Wojciech Swierdajc, but it does mean going into next round, you're provisionally going to be sitting in 4th place in the championship, heading towards Snetterton in 2 weeks. How are you feeling for round 3?
Good, again, to be honest. Do you know what, Paul? This calendar this season, there's not a track on there that I don't love to pieces, so every round is going to be really enjoyable because I really like the tracks. The calendar could not have been any better for me this season, so yeah, I'll be carrying a bit more weight, longer track, more technical. Weight is probably going to make a more of a difference. Sorry, Brands Indy, the weight isn't that bad because there's not really any super, slow down, go. So once you go in, it's quite a momentum track. You can hold it. Whereas Snetterton, I think the weight will carry a bit more. I'll aim to start the night in top 3, top 5 if I can. That's the target, and see if I can push towards maybe a couple of podiums, or at least maybe another win under my belt, because I really want to push this season, mate. As you know, I've had the pace in quite a fair few seasons, and I've either made mistakes or had a bit of bad luck, and it's just I've never quite managed to get it. And with the calibre of drivers on this league, it is something I really want to achieve at least once. I'd love to win it.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's why I'd refer to you, I think many would refer to you, Adam, as the champion without a championship title, given the pace you bring each and every round. And we look forward to seeing you chase that dream as the season goes on. But just before I do let you go, of course, there's one last question, which is, would you like to give a thank you or a shout out to anyone live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, you as always, mate, for the broadcast. Jamie, not admin, behind the scenes that run it all the drivers. Bit of a shout out. I know you're going to get Lewis in next week, next round. But shout out to Lou for, he's had a win tonight and some podiums in his class, so that's nice to see. And Carl and Sam and NXTGEN Green and all lads and all our sponsors.
Well, Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me. And like you say, it's a special shout out there to Lewis Stellman also for a great set of results. We would have loved to have had him in this week, but unfortunately weren't quite able to. But we'll bring him in next time to talk to him from Snetterton if he's available then. But with that, thank you for joining me this evening and well done on that great set of performances. None more so than that pole lap and the victory in race number 1. And we look forward to plenty more from yourself in a couple of weeks' time at Snetterton in round 3. Until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul. Good night, buddy.
So hearing there from Adam Delmont for NXTGEN Green, well, what a day today. And we mentioned there, straight from the up, loves this circuit, has put in plenty of time getting the practice in, and was very proud to take that pole position on the outset there by almost a whole 10th over the man we're going to be speaking to next, Michael Lees. And talking about there as well, feeling very confident in race 1, given the lightness of the car, only the tops, what was the 7th place success battle going into this round, the fact that so long as he could get a good launch and run away, he would be able to just take that win away from everybody else and off into the distance. But then going into race number 2, the maximum weight going in the car, and mentioned there, it was until the end of the race where the tyre degradation started to pick up on that front left. The weight not really making that much of a difference given the nature of Brands Hatch Indy, but at the end of the race, front left was off and started to lose the pace and lose the places, but was able to stop the rot enough to hold on to 3rd. And in race number 3, was chasing the podium, a bit gutted to miss out on it given the fact that everybody got their elbows out, but still happy with a top 5 and knowing that this is a championship campaign that is building. And mentioned there, his dream is to take that driver's championship crown. He's been chasing it for his 8 seasons and it hasn't come about, but hopefully this will be the year in his mind where he's able to finally take it. And for the NXTGEN Green driver, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of fans cheering him on there, understandably so. And we're not allowed to play favourites here in the commentary booth, but I think nobody would begrudge this man of Adam Delmont if he was able to take a crown at the end of this season, but that could be said of so many. But definitely that's why we refer to Adam Delmont as the champion without a championship, because of the performances he puts in like tonight. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our final interview of the day, and we're going to be hearing from none other than what will be our driver of, and I do believe it is going to be Michael Lees, who gets ready to join us now in what will be the interview room. And well, as we get set to bring him on in, we're going to be hearing the story there from the man who really enjoyed a great start to the evening, and all the way through it had an undercurrent of what was top 5 finishes, if not podiums, in the Pram class, as we almost bring him in. And in fact, we are going to bring him in now, and here he comes. It's none other than Michael Lees who joins me. Good evening to you, Michael, and well, what a round of racing for yourself at Brands Hatch. Not quite any victories today, despite an absolutely incredible prime pole lap, but a pair of podiums and a 4th place to go with it. It's still a very good foundation for your championship.
I hate to correct you, Paul. I got 2 wins. Conrad Kohler is a pro.
Oh, goodness me. Well, didn't quite get the update there, so I do apologise for the fact that you're a multi-time winner. Let's get that adjusted. But with that and multiple wins, let's revise ourselves there and say a huge set of points for yourself today.
Yeah, fantastic result. I mean, couldn't have gone a lot better, really. Like I say, with Conrad being a pro, I got a win in the first race. In the second race, I'd have been 3rd, but Lewis Delmont got a 5-second penalty for track limit, so that'll put me 2nd. And then a win in the 3rd race, so that's about as good as it could get, and a pole.
Indeed, you couldn't ask for better, to be honest. And, well, with that in mind and all the provisional finishing positions there, as mentioned by yourself, I mean, just rolling it all the way back to that pole position in qualifying, an absolute monster lap for yourself, almost enough to take pole position, albeit 900ths between yourself and Adam Delmont. What was the magic behind the lap?
I don't know. I just know how important qualifying in this track is because it's so hard to overtake. So I just gave it absolutely everything, and somehow, I don't know how, did the perfect lap, because that is the fastest I've ever been around this circuit, so it couldn't have come at a better time.
Oh, undoubtedly. And I have to ask, the fact you stayed with the Hyundai Veloster once again, it's been your old favourite of many a season of age. You still finding time in the car?
Yeah, I mean, switched out of the Elantra because a few seasons ago it got bopped a little, and I noticed when we were doing Monza that there wasn't a single Elantra in the top 20, so that sort of told me, okay, this car's no good anymore, which is when I switched to the Honda last season. But I couldn't really get on with the Honda, and I thought, well, I started NXTCC in the Veloster, so why not finish it in it? And it's paying off. It's paying off. I'm enjoying it. It feels like home, you know. And I've definitely improved my pace from the last few seasons. So yeah, bring it on.
Well, goodness me. Well, an absolutely a brilliant full circle story arc, if you will, in terms of Veloster and wanting to bring it on, like you say. And with that phenomenal pole lap going into race number 1 then, a great start, but it did look as though quite early on you were going to be shuffled down the order by the pros who all wanted to come on through. Just take us through what that felt like, because it seemed as though for all the pace you had in qualifying, the pro Sonny said, you know what, we can't let him lead the way. He's a Prime driver. We're going to get past him.
It was a little bit brutal out there. I'm not gonna lie. I was I think it's the first time I've ever sat on the grid nervous, like ever, and that includes like actual racing and stuff. Like this is the first time I've ever had those sort of serious nerves, and I was nervous, and that probably demonstrated that in my driving, and then you know people just opened me like a can of sardines and sort of spotting it through. I made a mistake then in lap, I can't remember, 2 or 3, and I ran a bit wide in Paddock Hill through the gravel and lost another 2 or 3 places. And yeah, I just was trying to focus on just stick with the pack, try not to let any pro-ams come up and come through, and just, you know, just ride it out. I know I had the pace, and after about 5 or 6 laps, the nerves died down, and I got back into focus again, and yeah, started going forwards again, so yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I say, I have not felt them nerves in a very, very long time, so yeah, it was good.
Well, that's an absolutely brilliant set of thoughts there. I mean, I've never quite heard that from somebody. The first time they've ever been on the grid where they've been nervous, whether in real life or in the simulator. Well, I'm glad we can send that nervous chill through you, to be honest. That shows you how good the NXTCC is. And it's a great selling point there, ladies and gentlemen. But coming back to yourself, Michael, I mean, a race 1 then where you were elbowed down the order but still holding on to class victory. In race number 2, we put the top weight in the car, but it didn't stop you from chasing down a podium.
Yeah, it was difficult with the weight in. I had to mess with the brake bias a bit to get it feeling right, because it was a bit oversteery with all the weight being in the back, and it's quite a short car, so it does want to swap ends pretty quickly as it is. Yeah, it took me a little while to get in the flow of it again. It doesn't like cold tyres, this thing. It really doesn't like cold tyres. It's very sketchy on them. But again, after a few laps, you know, I got back into it and found my pace again, and I was back to sort of roughly where I was doing without the weight in. So yeah, not too bad. It's quite a lot of weight, 70 litres of fuel, so it was quite heavy. Yeah, and there was a bit of argy-bargy at the end of that one with Matt Addy. I'd got on the inside of him into, is it Surtees, I think it is?
Yes.
And he pinched me over the curb, which pitched my car into a bit of a spin, and it went one way, then it went the other, and I managed to catch it. And when I caught it, I was on the inside of him on the final corner, and then he sort of pinched me again, and we made contact again. So, you know, standard touring car, and then for some reason he just sort of turned towards me on the straight and ended up spinning round over the bonnet of my car, which was unfortunate because he could have out-dragged me to the line. I think he was in the Audi, and then, you know how they accelerate, so it was a shame. And then Stewart went past me, which is why I got third in the end. So, but yeah, I think that was the only blemish really on today was that, because it would have been nice to just finish side by side with him.
Oh, indeed it would have. Unfortunate there, but I'm sure the two of you might be able to talk through things once things have calmed down a little bit, because it was a bit of a nasty shunt right at the end. But coming from perhaps a bit of a negative to a more of a positive, race number 3, and well, a 15th place start on that, well, 16th place, of course, because of the time penalty not being applied to the gridding procedure. But from 16th to a 13th place finish and one more prime victory. But it looked as though, in the end, that prime victory was going to be a question of how long you were willing to be queued up behind a whole pack of pros in front of you.
Yeah, so I saw Lewis, and he was right on the back of one of the Sim Racing Collective cars, and he was having a good little scrap with him. And once I got past Stewart, there was a little bit of a botched switchback attempt with Stewart, but he survived it, so I think everything's okay there, hopefully. But yeah, was catching up with Lewis quite quickly after that once I got a bit of free air, and we got all the way up on the back of him, and I see him fighting with the guys in front. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to just sit here and be patient, because it's so hard to stick a pass anywhere here, because it's like Adam was saying, it's a momentum track, and you know, once you've got going, there's not much stop and start, so there's not much places you can like outbrake someone or, you know, get a good run and out accelerate him, because everybody's basically going exactly the same speed. So it was right towards the end. I can't remember last lap or the lap before last, and Lewis goes to. I think he's trying to set up a move on the Sim Racing Collective car, and as I come out of Paddock Hill, I get a massive run on him. I come up the side of Lewis, and then the Sim Racing Collective car goes to sort of block Lewis on the outside and just opens up. So I take two in one corner, and yeah, from there it was just right. Hang on, grit your teeth, and if I stay here, I'll win. And then on the very last lap, Joe Doble makes a mistake into turn 3. I can't remember what it's called. He makes a mistake in there. I see him go wide. I'm like, oh no, he's going slow. Conrad in front of me then sort of goes up the side of him and passes him. I end up the side of him, and he sort of brakes weird, and then the Sim Racing Collective car dives up the inside of me, and then Lewis dives up the inside of me, and we're side by side drag racing up to the line. It was nail biting that, you know. I thought Lewis might get me there, but I just managed to get on the throttle a little bit earlier and won it by the skin of my teeth. So very, very adrenaline-filled day, I've got to say.
Oh, without a doubt, and I can hear it in your voice, the fact the adrenaline's all coming through, and now you're just settling down after it. But still, 2 wins and a third in the Pro-Am class. And it means you're now championship leader provisionally after 2 rounds of racing. I mean, it must feel as though you've started off on a strong note.
It feels great, honestly. I'm having so much fun. It's about the most fun you can have with your clothes on, really, isn't it? So,
well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take that quote and save that as an advertisement. Sorry, go on, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just having a great time. I'm enjoying racing with all these people. You know, everybody in here is so talented. You know, it's like, it may look like, you know, we're all nose to tail and, you know, oh, maybe we're all just rubbish. No, everybody's fantastic at this, you know, at this racing lark, and you know, the quality of drivers is incredible, which is why it's so close. And it's just great fun to you know, to come out here on a Tuesday and just get in the mix with everybody and just send it, you know. I think everybody feels the same, so, you know, long may the racing continue. I don't know what the future of NXTCC holds, but you know, if it does go away, and hopefully it comes back after not very long.
Oh, indeed. Well, the future may be a little bit uncertain, but still, one thing that is certain is that in 2 weeks we go to Snetterton for round 3 of the championship. How are you feeling for a visit to Snetterton?
I've always enjoyed Snetterton previously when I've been there. I always feel like I'm not going to be quick there, but then somehow I am quick there, so we'll just have to see how it goes. It's been a long time since I've done it in the Veloster, so until practice next week, I'm really clueless as to how I'm going to go, if I'm honest. So I'll put in the laps on Monday with everybody, and then yeah, hopefully come Tuesday I'll have the pace, and we can keep it up there in the top group like I have been doing.
Well, Michael, we look forward to seeing it, whether you can keep it right up there at the front of the field. But until then, and just before we do let you go, one last question, which is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank Martin and Jamie, you know, putting in stellar works, doing this for year after year after year, you know, really, yeah, you know, I love it. Love coming every Tuesday and doing it. So thanks to them, thanks to you, you know, for doing the broadcast. It's always great. I always love watching it back, which I will be doing immediately after we've got off this. I want to thank my teammate, Reese. You know, it's nice to have someone to chat to while we're going round, and I'd say strategizing, but there's not much strategy between us. We ain't got 2 brain cells to rub together, so. And then yeah, just everybody who's involved, everybody who races, everybody who watches.
Oh, well, fair play, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room, and well done on the results once again. A phenomenal set of drives today. Of course, you're going to be the man to beat when we return in 2 weeks' time at Snetterton, but until then, well, you've earned your rest. Have a fantastic rest of your evening, and we will catch you in round 3.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Always great chatting to you. Take care.
You too. So hearing that there from Michael Leese, ladies and gentlemen, and well, very happy Michael Leese. We do apologise for the fact he was shown to have finished in second place in two of the races, and well, with Conrad Kula being moved to pro class between the rounds, unfortunately that information not drip feeding its way through to the broadcast, but we will get that corrected going into round number 3. But of course, that can happen when we do have the classes being finalised over the opening couple of rounds. But that shouldn't distract us from the fact that Michael Leese today, absolutely brilliant driving from him from start to finish with that phenomenal pole lap in the Pram class, just missing out on overall pole, but putting in his best ever lap, he's mentioned, at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit there, and not sure where it came from, but definitely getting more and more to grips with the car that he started his NXTCC campaign with in Season 1, and now coming full circle to come back to it, and well, it'll feel like a familiar pair of shoes. But with that familiar pair of shoes, he stepped his way forward, and in race number 1 took victory at the front end of the field of the Pram class, albeit finding himself being shuffled and muscled down the overall order with the pros all coming on through. And from there, it was absolute open warfare between himself and his pro and peers, with race number 2 seeing him taking a 3rd place in the class after a time penalty for one of his rivals, and then returning to victory in race number 3 with a little bit less weight in the car, and knowing all the fighting was out there with that brilliant 2-for-1 special pass on the closing stage of the race, as we see him in the pictures chasing down Lewis Delmont towards the victory of the Pram class. Michael Leese is definitely one to watch out for, and he's looking forward to what is Snetterton in 2 weeks' time. And well, we look forward to seeing whether he can carry on that momentum. But of course, he'll know the pressure's on for the simple reason he is now, of course, your championship leader going into that round, and all the weight will be in the car waiting for him in 2 weeks' time. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings all of our interviews to a close, and we'd like to say a big thank you to all of our interviewees, because we first heard from Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN in the Pro class. We then heard from Adam Delmont for NXTGEN Green, also in the Pro class, and we just heard from Michael Leese for JWM Motorsports in the Pram class. Well done to all 3 of them on their sensational performances, and long may it continue when we head into our next round. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, just before we completely wrap up, we're going to quickly walk you through the provisional standings after what is 2 rounds of racing, and these may be subject to stewarding and also changes depending on the class assignments. And as we can see, starting off with the overall top 15 in the Drivers' Championship for the Orange Lobby, Wojciech Swierdijk leading by 7 points over Luciano Witvoet, and then Mikey Doble in 3rd on 93 points, with Adam Delmont rising from 7th to 4th. Well, right now, it is anybody's game out there, because Swierdijk has definitely laid down a consistent set of markers on the opening 2 rounds, but it's by no means over between the drivers, and we've got a long journey ahead of us. In 5th, Isaac Doble, only 2 points off of the top 4. He's also had a good string of results so far. And then Alex Meredith really leading the rest of the field in 6th place, down 63 points, 1 ahead of Andrew Pike, and a comfortable is 15 ahead of William Guthrie there in return from Pike to Guthrie, with Gavin Gardner and Yaroslav Sabila completing the top 10. And you got to feel for what it's Gavin Gardner in the fact I think he would have been expecting that if results had gone his way today, he could have been right up there, but it wasn't to be after particularly that instant in race number 2. In 11th, Tom Davidson there, the Sim Racing Collective esports driver, enjoying some brilliant battling, much like his teammate, and well, being rewarded for it, a point ahead of Conrad Kula. And then we do see what is none other than Lewis Delmont there, your leading Pram driver, as a result of what is the overall points. But of course, it'll be a very different story when we do transition to what will be the Pro-Am Championship points, which will come to sort shortly, I should say, as I mince my words there. Goodness me, it's been a long day. And then Stuart Winus and Lee Horde completing your overall top 15. Coming on to the Pram class, and here we can see Michael Leese leads the way by 6 points over Lewis Delmont, and indeed close between the 2 of them, and only a further 7 points to Stuart Winus, and Kieran Smart, the 2nd member of Track Scotland, right behind his teammate there in 4th. Ben Altrier, we haven't seen too much of him today. He sits in 5th on 79 points, 2 ahead of both Matthew Addy and Duncan Moraes, and Matthew Addy as well. That late incident between himself and Michael Leese in race number 2, he'll be frustrated about that one, but he will need to come back stronger at Snetterton, a circuit which he has previously gone very well at. Indeed, he was the first ever, some of you may remember, the first ever Pro-Am driver to take an overall pole position in qualifying was Matthew Addy, albeit race number 1 straight after that didn't go too well. But let's stay focused on the positive history, which is that Addy should go well in round number 3 if history is to say the context. Duncan Moraes in 7th then, ahead of Russell Fowler, 15 points between the 2 of them there, and it's a further 8 to Ben Gregory, with Alan McCain completing the top 10 on 53 points, and 11 behind him, Reese Watt there best of the rest. Nick Lewins, Sam Smith and Sam Knowles complete the Pram class, and then we come onto the AM class standings, and we can see Mark Sykes, with his triplet of victories today, has opened up an advantage of 13 points over Marcel Fridge, with what is there Craig Tillerson moving into third, just ahead of Jonathan Collins, after that late podium for Craig Tillerson in race number 3 today, earning him a great foundation for his championship campaign to move forward from. Matthew Jordan sits in 5th on 73 points, and he's ahead of Cal Murray and what is Sam Bradley, because there's plenty of rounds ahead, and Sam Bradley's just getting started. Then coming on to the Teams Championship, well, I don't think we do have Teams Championship available at the moment. No, we don't, so we're going to skip over that, and we'll give you an update on that in a week's time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it does mean it is now time for us to wrap up. And thank you very much for watching. And if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Next Gen racing community, or how you can potentially be on the grid for the NXTCC or any of our other ongoing series or up-and-coming series, well, for all that and more, we definitely recommend you check out our official website. And that's at nextgenracing.co.uk. That website appears on screen now. And, well, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. And, well, if you've ever wanted to be on the grid or to find out all the information about what goes on behind the scenes, our website is the #1 place to go to. And you can also get to the beating heart of the community, which is our official Discord, using the link in the top right corner of our website. And there's never been a better time to be on the grid at Next Gen Racing. But if you don't want to go to our website or join our Discord, perhaps you're more of a social media person, we do recommend you follow us on Facebook, and that's our Facebook group of facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, where you can find out similar information to our website, but you can also find out what goes on behind the scenes between our staff members and admin members, not just on the virtual racing circuit, but also on the real life racing circuit, where a number of our administrators and staff members being real life racing drivers, alternatively track marshals and stewards. We'd also like to take a big moment to say a thank you to our sponsors, who include Powermax, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Falconer PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and of course our title sponsor, Doble Motorcycles. And if you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Because home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading motorcycle dealer. And when you do go to what is a Doble family-run business that prides itself on customer service, first and foremost, having received Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times in its history, well, you won't find anywhere better to be able to invest in a machine that is running on the power of dreams. But don't just take our word for it. If you'd like to know more, then do check out their website today at doble.co.uk for further information. That web address again, doble.co.uk. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, now we turn our attention to round number 3. And after a double header, we take a breather, and we will be back in what will be 2 weeks' time to continue the story of the championship as our drivers make the way to the Snetterton 300 circuit on Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025, for a charge around the local countryside around the city of Norwich, and who will come out victorious on one of our longest circuits on the calendar. Well, so far in what is the Overall Drivers' Championship, it's Wojciech Swierdowicz has brought out a slender advantage, but he's got Luciano Witvoet right on his heels. In the Pram class, Michael Lees will feel as though he's got all the momentum on his side, and can anybody curb it? And in the AM class, Mark Sykes seems to be on rampant form, but Snetterton's a very different style of beast, and we could see Marcel Fritsch or any of his rivals come on strong in our next venue. But until then, well, that's all we've got time for today, and we've been the NXTCC's Orange Lobby for Season 9. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britney Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at Next Gen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.